The story begins with a newscaster reporting the current predicament the world is facing. The weather report for today is that the Earth has entered a new ice age. The global temperature continues to drop at an alarming rate and is not showing any signs of recovery anytime soon. However, despite experiencing the excruciating frost himself, the newscaster urges the viewers to not lose hope. Whether or not he was paid to be optimistic in this despairing scenario, the man states that the government hasn't abandoned their people yet, and they will overcome this crisis with the cooperation of everyone. Unfortunately, before he could even finish his supposedly hope-giving statement, a massive airplane came crashing down on him, ultimately ending the news crew's lives and cutting the line from the views. The scene then shifts to a nasty apartment room filled with bags of emptied supplies scattered around. It is pretty evident that the electricity is no longer running in this place because of how dark and frozen it is. This place turns out to be the room of our hero, Han Feng, and there seems to be someone knocking on his doorstep. The man walks to the door with his bloodied baseball bat, ready to attack if the visitor turns out to be hostile. As he peeks through the peephole, he sees a terrified and shivering beautiful lady, almost on the verge of freezing, knocking on his door. Our simple little main character opens the door without hesitation, and despite the temperature being way past freezing, this idiot still manages to blush as he greets his little crush, Yona. He quickly invites her inside, saying that it is very dangerous to be outside, especially with looters roaming around. Suddenly, the pretty woman opens the door wide. She then throws herself into Han Feng, pulling his clothes, before proceeding to kiss him passionately. The two shared the warmth of their body through their mouths. They were so out of it that they didn't even notice how much time had passed. After sharing that hot, passionate smooch, our boy finally comes to his senses, asking why did he own such a thing right after he opened the door. The distressed gal answers in a very meek voice, saying that she has come to realize that the one she truly loves is none other than Han Feng. With teary eyes and an innocent smile, she states that he's the one she's supposed to be with. The cold apocalypse revealed the true colors of the people around her, making her aware that Han Feng really cares about her. Trying to convince our baffled hero, she leans closer and in a seductive tone of voice, she states that if he doesn't believe her, she will be willing to do anything. This gave our horny boy naughty ideas, making his beet red face even brighter. Yona even presses her legs towards Han Feng's manhood, exciting our boy even further. His mind is going blank, and steam is wheezing out of his nose from the ecstasy. Before he completely loses his mind, he manages to barely say what's on his heart, declaring that Yona's words mean so much to him, but he's not really sure that this is the right thing to do. However, the persistent lady isn't backing down. She stared right into our boy's soul, melting it despite the freezing temperature. Convinced, Han Feng closes his eyes. At this point, he's already on cloud 9, so he doesn't really care what happens next, thinking that they will go all the way like real lovers. What he didn't expect is that there is someone creeping within the shadows, and the moment our boy closed his eyes, this fucker came out of God knows where and struck him with a baseball bat. Han Feng was fatally injured, and he lay down on the floor bleeding to his death, barely conscious. As it turns out, the assailant is an acquaintance of Yona, and the girl isn't actually a pure-hearted lady, but rather a bitch. They planned this from the start, and their goal is to loot our boy's room and take away all of his supplies in order to survive the cold apocalypse. Our poor boy spent the last moments of his life shivering in the lonely hallway as he listened to the treacherous conversation between Yona and her buddy. Life slowly escapes our hero, and his body is gradually matching the room temperature. Despite the despicable act of betraying the pure-hearted Han Feng, the bitch still had the audacity to flirt with the man right in front of our boy's face. Han Feng dies, and his last thoughts are if he's to be reborn again. He promises to be done being a lovesick puppy who gets taken advantage of. As his soul leaves his body, our boy finds the light at the end of the tunnel, and he tries his best to reach out to it. Once he has made contact with the dim light, it suddenly turns red and violently envelops his whole being. The next thing he knows, he's abruptly woken up with sweat dripping down his face as if he just had a terrible nightmare. Our boy sits on the bed, dumbfounded. He just stared at the window, wondering where the fuck is he. 30 minutes later, we see our boy standing on the balcony, enjoying the warmth of the sun. He never thought that he would feel this kind of sensation ever again because of the ice apocalypse that he had experienced. Confused, he checked the date and learned that today is the 28th of June, and if his memory won't fail him, the apocalypse started on July 15th. He is aware that he should be dead right now, but the feeling he's feeling right now is too real to be considered a dream. There is only one thing to explain this scenario: Han Feng has been reborn. However, something is different this time around. Ever since he woke up, the red glow has been around his right hand the whole time. Although it might seem like his hand is on fire, it doesn't actually hurt or burn our boy. The only effect that it does is that it gives off a warm sensation. Dust enters his nose, causing him to sneeze. All of a sudden, the red glowing light on his right hand turned green, confusing our boy. He becomes even more surprised when the green flame burns bigger, making him wonder what actually is going on. Despite this, Han Feng doesn't seem to be feeling any pain. He goes back to his room, feeling exhausted from overthinking the situation. He comments on how surreal the thing on his hand is, saying that science wouldn't be able to explain why is there beams of light shooting out from his hand. After violently expanding, the glow began to calm down and slowly shrink. Han Feng remarks that the green light is different compared to the red one, saying that the red is more stable. Suddenly, our boy feels completely drained, so he sits on the sofa as he tries to catch his breath. He wonders if this sudden exhaustion is caused by the green flame. Convinced that it is indeed the cause, he flails his hand around trying to extinguish the fire, but it won't budge. Then, something comes to his mind. Maybe there's a chance that this is a power-up just like the ones he sees on manhwas. The usual storyline is that the protagonist will be reborn after a gruesome death and receive an overpowered ability. With this in mind, he grabs a knife and points it forward. Unfortunately, the green flame didn't react. It's still in his hand and didn't cross towards the knife. Realizing how silly he might look, Han Feng scratches the back of his head while making a dumb face. His stomach then began grumbling from all the moving he was doing. The dude just woke up and he already started doing some crazy shit without having breakfast. Our boy went to check the fridge, but unfortunately, he found nothing inside. Man, this panel is too relatable. This is not good for our boy, he's famished. If he doesn't eat something soon, he will pass out. Maybe the flame on his hand has something to do with how fast he's getting hungry. By some stroke of luck, he notices a jar of leftover soybeans on the table. Well, it isn't the best meal there is, considering that it is just a snack. But Han Feng is desperate. He would eat anything that is available to alleviate some of his hunger. He uses his right hand to pick up the bean and throws it into his mouth. As he was about to chew the bean, it exploded in his mouth. As the smoke clears, we see a full-grown crop escaping Han Feng's mouth. The man himself is too stunned to realize what is going on. As he pulls out the crop from his mouth, he notices that it is a fully grown soybean plant. In addition to that weird scenario, the exhaustion he was feeling earlier is gone, along with the flame on his hand. Our boy takes one pod from the plant and opens it, and sure enough, there are some healthy bean sprouts inside. Our hero is now sure that he has indeed gone back in time and acquired the power to help him survive. He's now eager to learn more about his abilities. However, the most important thing must come first, and that is to stock up on supplies for the upcoming Ice Age. The scene switches to the crowded scenery of the city. The street is jam-packed with people, and the foot traffic is quite heavy. Amongst the people is our hero who is currently lost in thoughts. As he walks, he assesses the power that he has. As far as he knows, the flame on his hand has two colors, red and green. He hasn't seen what the red one can do yet, but the green flame makes his heart beat faster as it expands or shrinks, making him feel tired. Then it also had some effect on the soybeans. The information he has right now is too little to make any conclusion, so he just stares at his hand. Suddenly, someone calls him from behind. Our boy immediately recognizes this sweet and alluring tone of voice, so he turns around. But the facial expression he's wearing is that of annoyance. The reason is simple because the one who called him is none other than the treacherous bitch that caused his death during the ice apocalypse. Just like in Han Feng's previous life, the bitch acted also clingy and innocent, saying that she didn't expect that they would bump into each other, commenting that it must be the work of fate. Our hero flinches after seeing Yona once again, causing mixed emotions to build up inside him. This simp king considered Yona as the goddess of his dreams for 3 long years, and during that time, he had done everything to make her happy. Even though he always knew that he was nothing to her but a fallback guy who she only called when convenient, Han Feng didn't mind. However, never did he think that this bitch he's head over heels for will be the reason for his death. Recalling the previous incident, rage boils in our hero's veins. But he chose to calm himself for now. Now is not the time to take revenge yet, he needs to secure supplies first. On the other hand, Yona desperately tries to catch his attention. She leans closer, asking what our boy is spacing out for. Despite the anger he is feeling towards the bitch, Han Feng acts civilized, pretending that he's still the simp he was before. Our boy acted natural, complimenting the bitch for his pretty face. Yona laughs, commenting that Han Feng is getting smooth with his advances, but of course, she's just saying this to trick our boy. With a seductive pose showcasing her beauty, she invites our hero to go shopping. She's probably thinking that she will be able to get some free stuff from our hero and intends to use him as a walking credit card. Unfortunately for her, Han Feng is now a real Chad after watching too many motivational YouTube shorts. I mean after dying once because of her. Our boy walks past her, saying that he can't go with her today. The bitch was absolutely taken aback. Her eyes widened after getting rejected by the man she considers a dog. Han Feng continued walking without looking back. In his mind, he compliments the bitch for trying, but he is no longer the foolish man from before. The scene changes, and we are taken to a busy supermarket, the Waldemer, definitely not to be confused with Walmart. It is the largest and most well-stocked supermarket in the East region. Of course, when the Ice Age hit, this place was cleaned out overnight, and nobody ever found out who did it. Our hero walks through the supermarket, and he immediately fills his pushcart with necessary supplies. There is only one thing on his mind, and that is to stock up as much as he can before the apocalypse hits. He's also browsing the internet for survival tips for the apocalypse. According to it, the things he needs most are food, winter clothes, medicine, daily necessities, fuel, and such. However, just like any other man, Han Feng faces one major problem, which is money. Currently, he only has 15,357 in his personal wallet, and it surely won't suffice if he intends to purchase everything he needs. Han Feng faces a dead end. He doesn't know where to get the necessary money to buy everything. Suddenly, a message notification pops up, informing him that he is now eligible for a loan of up to 168,800 yuan. This gave our hero a bright idea, and without having any second thoughts, he downloaded all the loaning applications on his phone. There are plenty of ways to get a loan, and he doesn't intend to pay them back since the apocalypse will come anyway. Meanwhile, we see Yona absolutely furious about the previous interaction with our hero. She's pissed that even though Han Feng is just one of her loser simps, the guy had the audacity to reject her. According to her, Han Feng is just a pathetic loser who doesn't even own a car. As such, she plans to not interact with him ever again. Right at that moment, a luxurious-looking car pulls up right beside her, and when the driver rolled down the window, it revealed our boy looking happy with his purchase. Yona was taken aback to see Han Feng driving a car. Her eyes almost left their sockets as she stared at the man who she had just berating a few moments ago. The gold digger quickly asked our boy if he owned the car, to which Han Feng confirmed, saying that he just bought it. He explains that his dad's business is doing well in the US, so he gave our boy some cash. The bitch realizes that Han Feng does have his uses, so she reverted back to her sweet and cunning attitude towards our boy. With teary eyes, she began apologizing for inviting Han Feng to go shopping earlier, claiming that she didn't know he had an appointment. However, she states that she was a bit hurt that Han Feng acted cold towards her, thinking that our boy was trying to avoid her. Our hero smirks, calling Yona silly for thinking about such a thing. He then gently grabs her by her chin and pulls her closer, saying that he would never ever ditch Yona, claiming that she is too important for him. Hearing this, the bitch smirks, thinking that she has regained control over the gullible man. She then puts up her best acting skill, saying that Han Feng is also special to her. As such, the bitch tries to invite him for dinner and go watch some movies together, stating that she wants to know him better. Unfortunately for her, our boy didn't hear any of her bullshit, for he has moved away from her. As she turns around, Yona sees our boy fixing up all the stuff that is stacked on his car's trunk, saying that he will be busy for the whole day with these many supplies on him. A little bit pissed for getting ignored, Yona asked our hero why he bought too much stuff, and Han Feng stated that there was no special meaning to it, he just wanted to do so. Our boy then informs her that he also bought a present for Yona, making the girl blush from excitement. With that in mind, the bitch opted to get a move on, but she made sure to tell our boy that she was looking forward to the gift he got for her. As she walks away, a sinister smile forms on her face, thinking that she has just nailed it. Earlier, she thought that she had just lost an insignificant simp, but it makes her happy that Han Feng seems to be as gullible as ever. On the other hand, our boy is also smiling. He doesn't want the bitch to find out about the stockpile of necessities he has, but he also doesn't want to lose her connection with Yona, for he intends to take revenge. A sinister thought sprouts in the back of our hero's mind. Once he has finished all of his preparation and the apocalypse dawns on Earth, he vows that Yona and the man who killed him will get a taste of their own medicine. Thinking about it actually makes our boy excited. He can no longer wait until the Ice Age starts. The Ice Age will start on July 15th. The day will start with heavy snow and the temperature will plummet to minus 20 degrees Celsius. That is minus 4 degrees Fahrenheit for those who don't use the metric system. Over the next month, the temperature will continue to drop gradually, reaching lows of minus 70 degrees Celsius. At this point, the world will be encased in ice and snow, making it impossible to go outside. As such, Han Feng is utilizing his time to prepare for the inevitable disaster. He is currently stocking up enough food supplies to help him survive. All of it is packed and sealed properly so that his neighbors won't suspect that he's hoarding all the food. As for the sensitive and suspicious supplies, Han Feng moves them by himself with the cover of the night so no one would spot him. After the apocalypse, the power grid will be extremely unstable. That's where the fuel he has bought will be used for the generators. He has stocked up enough fuel that will last at least a year. When the apocalypse hits, the heating system will stop as well, so he needs to modify his house for independent heating, and also needs to reinforce the doors and windows for his security. At this point, I'm really lost how large is his fucking apartment. Hell, he even dedicated a room for storing other supplies. By the time he finished getting ready, it was already the 14th of July, just one day before the temperature plummets. With just a day left, it is now time for the main event. Han Feng steeled himself, ready to face the upcoming disaster. To survive the upcoming Ice Age apocalypse, relying solely on the supplies he has accumulated won't be enough. As such, he is depending on his power to manipulate plants. Han Feng prays that it doesn't fail him in his time of need. Sitting at the table, our hero looks at the prepared soybeans that he has also grown with the use of his ability. Even though it was such a helpful skill, he can't help but be a little bit anxious about it because he still hasn't figured out how to actually activate it. Now for the moment of truth. Our hero opens his mouth to taste the fruit of his labor. As he slowly puts the spoonful of beans into his mouth, he wishes that the taste wouldn't be that bad. Sure enough, the food he grew with his skill is definitely edible. This proves that he has acquired an ability to produce food. The next step is to figure out how to actually use his power. As he's already aware, it has 2 colors, but he still doesn't have the ability to control what color will appear. So far, he has only tried his power on the soybeans, and it was just on pure accident. With that in mind, he opened his fridge and decided to test if the green aura would work with other plants as well. The scene zooms outside, and the bright daylight soon changes into the falling of dusk. Our hero slowly opens his eyes, and he sees his hand holding a broccoli. As it turns out, our hero passed out after thinking that he would try to use his new skills. He gets up and sees that there are a lot of full-grown root crops and plants scattered around his apartment. However, his head hurts like hell, so he can't really assess the situation. One thing is clear though, his power takes a serious toll on his mind and body, so he can't just use it on a whim. Despite that, our boy is somewhat happy that he still at least learned something about his mysterious power. Earlier, before he blacked out, he tried using his power on a bunch of different plants. There are some plants that didn't react at all, while others grew from seeds into full-grown plants in no time, just like the soybeans. There are also some hazards as well, because quite a few of them exploded after getting exposed to Hanfeng's power. After the explosions, they turn into substances that look like coal, but they are very light. Despite their weight, they can be used as coals indeed, which makes up a good source of heat. With that, there is no need for our boy to worry about staying warm for now. Afterward, he tried to abuse his power many more times. He even tried increasing his focus so that he could get a bit more control. After making the broccoli bloom like a bouquet of flowers, the exhaustion finally caught up to our hero and he collapsed to the floor. The success rate of his power is way too random, and he can't find any patterns at all. However, our boy is convinced that there's gotta be some kind of principle behind his mysterious ability. There is only one day before the apocalypse starts, yet our boy is still just trying to figure out his mysterious power. As we continue, we see Hanfeng a bit troubled about his power. He twirls around the broccoli he has grown using his green power, while lamenting about the fact that he cannot find any patterns on the activation of the ability. The success rate and the effects of our boy's mysterious skill is way too random. However, it's still good that Hanfeng has gotten some understanding on the activation conditions. The key to his power lies significantly in his consciousness. As such, he sat down with his legs tucked and started meditating, feeling the whole sensation of his body. Gathering all his focus and peace of mind, our boy started imagining himself out in nature, completely naked. This is starting to look like one of those spiritual journey ads. He walks into the forest as different animals stare at him, wondering what the heck is this man doing. Putting his utmost best into this imaginary world, both his body and mind became part of the natural world. Thinking that he has successfully become one with nature, at least by heart, our boy slowly opens his eyes, curious about the result. Fortunately, his theory turned out correct. This green flame of his is indeed connected to his consciousness. The flame on his hand started pulsating, signaling that it's working, but it is not going out of control. The next thing we see are different kinds of meat laid down on the table. It seems our boy is about to test something here. He gently places his hand on the pork meat, wondering if the green flame will react to it. However, even after placing his hand on it for quite some time, no reaction occurred on the meat, making Hanfeng wonder if it's really only working on plants. Not wanting to be a vegetarian for the rest of the apocalypse, our boy becomes impatient and grabs the meat tightly, praying that his magic will affect it. He poured all his concentration on his hand to the point that his veins started bulging from the intense focus. Despite that, our boy becomes a bit disappointed to find that nothing happened. However, when he meditated earlier, he felt 2 distinct sensations when trying to activate his power. He then remembers that he actually had the red flame as well, and he hasn't tried it out yet. Going back to meditation mode, our hero channeled his thoughts into activating the red flame. He closes his eyes and starts his mental preparation once again. Alas, the red flame burns on his hand, and it started to envelop the meat he is holding. The pork started showing bubbles on it, indicating that something is happening. Suddenly, the delicious fresh meat turned into an undistinguishable blob of flesh. It's so disgusting that the artist had to blur it for us, so we won't vomit like our hero did. Horrified by the mean, Hanfeng violently tosses it to the ground, calling it disgusting. Then, his curiosity gets the better of him. He started pressing his finger against the meat that looked like chum from Chum Bucket that Plankton sells, wondering what happened to it. As he picks it up, he realizes that the meat actually reacted to the red light, but it feels like the pork got cooked or something. Hanfeng gets a little bit disappointed, thinking that it's all what the red flame can do. But as he stares at his hand, he feels that there is a lot more than just that. As he observes the massacred meat closer, he notices that the red flame somehow disintegrated it, resulting to its hideous appearance. Suddenly, something comes up to his mind. He started wondering what will happen if he uses both of his power and combine it together. As such, he grabs a handful of soybeans from the bowl and activates his other flame. On his right hand is the handful of soybeans enveloped with the green aura, and on his left hand is the meat imbued with the red flame. The green light signifies growth, and the red light is the opposite of it, which is disintegration. Han Feng then wonders what would happen if he combined the two opposing powers into one. As such, he smooshes the soybeans and the meat together along with the two flames. A bright golden light started to appear on his hands. The result of the experiment was so good that it made our boy shout from amazement. The disgusting meat from earlier reverted back to its pristine condition, and it actually grew bigger. It almost expanded 4 times its original size. However, the soybeans on his other hand disappeared, making our boy confused. This made him ponder if they got merged with the meat, creating this incredible product. Han Feng began observing the newly enhanced meat closely, sniffing and looking at it meticulously. There is no doubt that the quality of meat became even better than the original. According to our boy, it feels and smells exactly like real meat, but it's even fresher somehow. Delighted by this successful experiment, steam began puffing out of our hero's nose, excited to repeat the process. Unfortunately, all his next experiments all ended in failure. Han Feng slams the ground, asking what he did wrong. Even though he failed miserably, he got over his tantrum quickly and decided to pay no mind to his failure, deciding that he will just figure it out next time. Anyhow, he concludes that today's experiment is still productive. He can now freely activate both the green and red flame at once. Han Feng grins, thinking that if he can just master this power, he will be the man standing at the pinnacle of this apocalyptic world. He started visualizing himself as a superhuman standing on the peak of the Mount Everest while wearing his underwear outside his pants. I wonder which superhero wears this kind of attire. We won't mention his name for copyright issues. Then he suddenly realizes that having the ability to procure food easily doesn't put him on the same level as the Man of Steel. He remembers that he also needs protection. As a normal human being, he's completely defenseless against thieves. As such, Han Feng started cleaning up the mess he had made, thinking that they got to hurry and find himself a weapon before the temperature plummets down. While he's picking up the things on the floor, he gazes out the window and sees snow falling from the sky. It has started, the global freezing that affected the whole world as we know it. Although Han Feng was already aware that it would happen on the 15th of July, it still feels surreal for him to witness it once again. Knowing what to do next, our boy decided to go outside to fetch some weapons. The temperature will drop to 45 below within the week, so he decides to get a gun fast. However, since he's not living in America, buying guns is illegal, and he doesn't exactly have any connections to smuggle him some. As he's walking by, he overhears someone saying that he is someone in construction involved in projects costing millions. An overly dressed blonde guy is seen talking to someone. His fashion sense reminds me of those TikTok teenagers trying to impress their viewers. He tells the man with him that he knows Lao Wang from the Ziging Lida group, claiming that he's his big brother. Our hero seems to recognize this clown. Han Feng is well familiar with the exaggerated fashion style that this man has. Around the area, this clown is pretty popular, and everyone calls him his brother Lai. He is reputed to be in charge of contracting projects, and he seems to know everyone around here. The man he's talking to offers him a cigarette, but Lai states that he doesn't smoke any brands other than Huazi, for they only make him cough. I'm no smoker, but I'm pretty sure this fool is just exaggerating. According to our hero, this fool doesn't have a proper job, but he always acts so busy. Despite that, his connections are the real deal. Staring at him, Han Feng wonders if he could use this idiot to get what he needs, a gun. Since it is illegal to buy it directly, our boy wonders if one of Lai's connections will be able to get him one. As such, our boy calls out to brother Lai, and the guy looks at him curiously. But man, let me just say this though, this idiot's face is irritating. Han Feng awkwardly waves at the man and gives off a forced smile. Lai asks our boy if they know each other. In response, our boy says that he's Han Feng, and proceed to ask the man if he doesn't remember him. Not wanting to embarrass himself, Lai pretends that they just remembered our boy, even though he has absolutely no clue who Han Feng really is. The fool explains that he's been too busy lately, that's why he forgot our boy's name. After that short introduction, our boy started to look around suspiciously, as if he's checking if there are people listening to their conversation. Confirming that they are not being monitored, he comes near the curious Lai and whispers his agenda. The blonde man couldn't help but shout from surprise after hearing our boy's demand, asking why he needs such a thing. Feeling guilty, Han Feng's gaze wanders to the side, not knowing what kind of convincing explanation he could give the man. But before he could say any further, Lai makes it clear that he doesn't do anything illegal. He admits that he does know people that can help our boy with his problem, but he doesn't Han Feng to get mixed up in something dangerous. Despite how annoying this man is, he's still got his principles. Our boy tries to calm him down, saying that it isn't that much of a big deal. He reveals that he just wants to own such a thing for self-defense, claiming that there is someone who harbors personal grudge against him and he worries for his safety. Han Feng's story goes like this. One day, he was riding his bike to work when he ran into an old man who spits everywhere like a thug. Unfortunately, our unsuspecting boy became a victim and got spat right into his face. Naturally, this enraged our boy, so he confronted the old man, asking who the hell does he thinks he is. The two had a heated argument that resulted into a fight. Han Feng ended up beating the shit out of the arrogant bastard. As the man left, he told our hero that he will get back at him, just like any other third-rate villains. The next day, that guy actually stood with his word and awaited our hero with his goons. They all ganged up on our poor boy, beating him back in blue, declaring that they will do it again if they ever see our boy around the block. Han Feng claims that he has never been so humiliated in his whole life like that time. That is why he wants a gun to use for self-defense, and that is more or less why he needs the thing he was asking for. Lai was quite moved by our boy's story, calling the old man a nasty jerk. However, it isn't for the reason a normal person might think. He's actually furious about the old man spitting anywhere and not about our hero getting beaten up, calling him uncivilized. Han Feng was a bit mad that Brother Lai got moved by the thing about spitting and not him being a victim. No matter the reason is, Brother is now on board with our hero's story. He puts his hand on Han Feng's shoulder, reassuring him not to worry. The man proudly declares that he got our boy covered, saying that he will make a call to his connections right now and assist him with his problems. Still feeling a little guilty, our boy couldn't even look at the man as he thanks him, knowing that he just lied his way through. Lai tells him that they'll hop on the bus to get to their destination, saying that his luxury car is being serviced today so they wouldn't be able to use it. But I'm calling cap on this bullshit. Han Feng remarks that there is no need to worry about transportation for he has his own car. As he says this, the luxurious pickup truck near them began beeping, indicating that it's our boy's, surprising Lai. And so, the two sped to where Lai's connection is. Along the way, the man cannot help but be amazed how awesome our boy's ride is and asks how much it costed him. Han Feng reveals that he bought the car for 700,000 yuan. While telling our boy the direction, this social climber started snapping selfies, taking advantage of the luxurious interior of the car. He then posts it to his social media account, complaining that this new SUV is a bit uncomfortable to sit on. The scene switches and we are taken to the entertainment district where casino and other things are located. There are people sitting outside by a campfire in the middle of the streets, complaining how cold it has become tonight. Suddenly, the three goon-looking men notices that there's someone pulling up. Out of the luxurious car comes out Lai, acting so self-important as ever. The goons all stood up to greet the man, and based on their interaction, they are indeed close with the con man. They are impressed by Lai's gorgeous ride, asking how much he has bought such baby. Putting up some air, Lai didn't deny the ride being his and states that he has bought it around 700 grand. Han Feng, who is the real owner of the car, can't help but be amazed at how confident Lai is at lying, saying that he bought the car with the real owner just beside him. Inside, they are greeted by a man with huge physique and intimidating aura, no doubt. This person is the mafia boss. He calls Big Mouth Lai, asking what the hell he's doing in here so late. In response, Lai nervously offers the boss a cigar, trying to break the ice. However, the boss has no time for such small talks, so he tells Lai to get straight to business. While still a little shaking, Brother Lai informs him that our boy came here to buy something from him, specifically a gun. Just by looking at the man, shiver run through our boy's spine, acknowledging how intimidating the man actually is. The boss just stared at our hero's entire existence while casually smoking his cigar. This overwhelming pressure really proves his status. The man then smiles, acknowledging our boy's business. He confirms that he can easily get such a lousy gun for our boy. However, he's a bit disappointed because he thought that Han Feng brought him something more interesting than a deal with a gun. The boss calls out one of his lackeys, Kaingzi, and the man quickly pulls out the item from his pocket. He tosses a handgun onto the table, saying that it costs 6,000. Just when the group thought that the business is done, Han Feng gathered his confidence and states that he was actually looking for a longer and bigger gun rather than a pistol. He makes a circular gesture with his hand, saying that he's searching for something with a scope. The boss leans back on his couch, looking very disappointed at our hero, but he didn't say anything. The man's sudden change of demeanor scared our boy for a bit. He gulps his saliva in an attempt to calm himself a bit. Then, the mafia boss angrily shouted at him, asking if he's looking for a freaking sniper rifle. He angrily informs Han Feng that this place isn't a shopping mall where he can get anything he wants. This handgun is the best they could offer, so it's up to Han Feng to take it or leave it. At this point, Brother Lai jumps into the conversation, and he immediately explained the situation of our boy to the boss. However, the story is completely different to what our boy told Lai before. This time, his need for a gun has something to do with his wife, and the incident 5 years ago. Some time has passed, and the next thing we see is the mafia boss getting moved by Brother Lai's story. He kept on repeating the same word, yelling that it is disgusting. You see, as it turns out, Lai told the boss that Han Feng was cheated on by his wife, and all the 3 children they have aren't his. Our boy can't help but flinch by how absurd Brother Lai's story is, thinking that it is too much even for the man. But since it seems to be working, he kept his mouth shut and didn't complain. Fully convinced by the tragic background story, the boss states that the sniper rifle can be arranged, but it will take them a few days to procure. Hearing this made our boy happy, so he thanks Liu, the mafia boss, for his generosity and understanding. Liu orders Kainzi once again to arrange the deal, telling him to check if he can get a semi-automatic rifle. He even says to load it up with ammo as well. On the other hand, Brother Lai turns towards our boy, and while giving up a thumbs up, he proudly states that the business is done within minutes. In a surprising turn of events, the mafia boss then hands the handgun to our boy, taking him by surprise. Liu reveals that it is a gift, and urges Han Feng to take it. Bewildered by the generous gesture of the gangster, Han Feng was lost for word for a moment and just stared at the man. After accepting the gift, he informs the mafia boss about the current weather problem. He states that one of his friends who is working for the government told him that due to the abnormal weather, they're going to limit the purchase of supplies soon, so it is best to stock up as early as possible. The mafia boss stared at him, assessing if Han Feng is telling the truth. Despite the intimidating gaze, our boy remains steadfast with his word, indicating how serious he is. It seems like our boy took quite a liking to this man. That's why he was willing to give him a hint about the upcoming apocalypse so they can prepare. With that, their business with the mafia is done, and Liu tells them to get the hell out of their place. As they are walking, Lai won't shut up how he handled the deal smoothly. He comments that Liu's mood is so good that he could even ask for a cannon and the guy will agree. Delighted, our boy thanks Lai, saying that he will buy him some cigar later. The blonde man clarifies that he isn't really asking for anything in return. But if our boy insists, he only takes Huazi cigars, and just 7 to 8 cartons will do. While the man just kept yapping about cigars, our boy is doing some mental checklist. He now has food, supplies, and shelter. He's now all set for the apocalypse. All that is left to do is to master his ability. However, since he isn't paying attention to where he is going, Han Feng wasn't able to see the ice build up on the pavement and ended up slipping. Our boy had a bad fall, injuring his leg on the process. He trembles in pain while holding his injured leg. He feels that his leg is broken, so he gives his keys to Brother Lai, asking him to drive him to the hospital. However, Brother Lai scratches his head, saying that he actually doesn't have a driver's license, so he can't do such thing. Pitying our boy, the carries him and decides to take him by foot. But our hero is too heavy for him, so they just took a taxi. At the hospital office, the employees are packing their things up, ready to go home. One cute nurse looks at the window, noticing how bad the weather has become. Suddenly, she receives an urgent call, saying that they are currently short-staffed, so they need the head nurse to assist them. Then, here we see our boy Han Feng looking down like a scolded puppy. He really broke his leg because he wasn't paying attention. The doctor tells him that he will need to stay for an hour for observation. Our boy is really cooked. The cold apocalypse is at its initial phase, but he's stuck in the hospital instead of preparing for it. While waiting for the doctor in the lobby, Brother Lai bids his farewell to Han Feng, saying that he has other things to attend to. But the kind con artist tells our boy that he can call him anytime if he needs anything. And with that, our boy is left alone in the crowded and cold hospital. The facility overflowed with patients, victims of accidents caused by the sudden blizzard and plummeting temperatures. Emergency beds line the hallways, a grim testament to the worsening conditions outside. Getting impatient, Han Feng looks around, wondering when will the result come out to be able to get his medicines. His attention is then caught elsewhere when a pair of nice racks pass by. Of course, like any man of culture, this dude wouldn't miss it once it got into his peripheral vision. The head nurse, Jin, quickly attended to the patient requiring immediate medical attention. She checked the patients one by one, working diligently and almost flawlessly. Her meticulous skill combined with her elegant appearance picture a perfect work of art. As such, our boy can't help but be mesmerized by the beautiful scenery that he is witnessing right now. He's even more amazed to find out that this young lady has already become a head nurse at such a young age. His eyes are glued to the pretty head nurse, and the more he observes her, the more he gets captivated by Jin's incredible skill and kindness. Her work ethics is elegant, but what's more majestic is her unbelievable gorgeous face. Han Feng kept on admiring her, not only her face, but his eyes also wandered into the departments of the flowery field as he catches the lady sitting down. He can't help but think that this girl isn't paying much attention to her actions. Han Feng worries that other people might take advantage of her vulnerability, just like what he is doing right now. Suddenly, the old man seating beside our boy calls the attention of the head nurse. Being the ever-diligent worker, Jin immediately attended to the old man. The man complains that his back is aching and wants some assistance with it. However, since the hospital is short-staffed, the head nurse informs him that she will attend to him at a later time. Little did she know, all of these complaints are just a farce so that the sleazy old bones can sneak his smartphone underneath the nurse's skirt and take a video of it. Still clueless about the situation, Jin maintained her sunny disposition and acted kindly to the sleazeball. She states that they will need to x-ray his back to make sure. Not giving a single damn about her explanation, the old fart became even more aroused. He stands up and began caressing Jin's body in the pretext of showing her where the part of his body hurts. The head nurse is visibly taken aback by this sudden gesture, so she flinches. But as it turns out, she didn't think that she's getting taken advantage of. Her only complaint is that she's ticklish around the area where the sleazeball is touching. Hearing this, the creepy old man grins, thinking that this is his chance to go even further, plus ultra. His hands started slipping down her butt, and he began groping them watermelons. Just when things are getting out of hand, an unidentified flying crutch shoots towards the sleazeball, knocking him down. The old bastard falls down to the floor with his ass first, and starts groaning from the pain. Despite being taken advantage of, Jin still showed concern for the patient. The crutch came from our boy, explaining that this is his first time using it, so he accidentally sent it flying. I don't know how that would even happen, but my current satisfaction begs me to stop caring about the tiny details. Han Feng reaches towards the old man's phone in the pretext of checking if it broke from the fall. The sleazeball immediately became defensive, shouting for our boy not to touch his phone. However, it's all too late. Han Feng grabs the phone and proceeds to check the screen. And that's when he sees it. The old man was indeed recording the inside of the nurse's skirt. Our boy confronts the old man, telling him to get the hell out of the hospital before he shows anyone the video. He clarifies that he will not be giving the phone back and threatens that the next time he sees the fucker doing such a thing, he will make him famous in the internet. Not wanting to be cancelled by this new generation, the old man kept quiet while holding back his frustration. He sprints out of the facility like Usain Bolt. In a way, we can say that our boy cured his back pain by threatening him. Jin, who is a bit of an airhead, was so surprised to see the old man run at full speed despite complaining about his back. We can't really help our hero for feeling too worried at this naive nurse. Seeing that the situation isn't progressing any further, Han Feng shows her the video, saying that the pervert filmed her skirt. In response, Jin just gave a casual response saying that she didn't notice. Our boy hands her the phone, saying that she can do whatever with it, but he suggests that she calls the cops on him. Jin just thanked him sincerely and smiled as if nothing happened. Then, she goes to mention about our boy's ankle, asking if it isn't injured. Remembering that he has a broken leg, all the pain that was masked by his urge to protect the head nurse came flooding in like a broken pipe, causing our boy to shout in agony. In the next scene, we see the head nurse carefully attending to our boy's injury. She had just finished mending it with a gauze. Jin didn't just heal his injury, but also his heart with her pleasing smile. Han Feng thanks the nurse for the assistance, but she states that she should be the one expressing her gratitude. In response, our boy scolds her to be more aware of her surroundings next time. Even though he just told her this naive nurse went ahead and pulled our boy's foot towards her chest as she converses with him. One of her subordinates then calls for her attention, so she had to bid her farewell to our boy. Before leaving, she reminds Han Feng to come back in a week so he can get a follow-up checkup. Our boy acknowledges this with a smile on his face and waves goodbye. Han Feng stares at her until she disappears to the crowd. He knows that getting the follow-up checkup wouldn't be possible because of the apocalypse. He laments about the fact that this might be the last chance they would see each other. As such, our boy leaves the hospital in a crutch. The next day, the blizzard is becoming even more severe. The buildings in the city are now covered with thick layer of snow, and people are struggling to even walk the streets. All news channels are talking about the current crisis. Within the next 24 hours, all regions of the country is expected to experience heavy snow and sharp drops in temperatures. Reports from overseas correspondents show that temperature is plummeting worldwide. Experts and specialists from different countries are now discussing this unexpected weather anomaly. From their assessment, the cold snap wouldn't last long, and the weather will return to what it used to be in no time. However, they warn people to pay attention to disaster warnings and follow the arrangement of the local governments. We see Han Feng casually watching this terrible news while sipping a glass of wine, as if this global calamity doesn't concern him. He scoffs at the news, saying that the government is just lying with all the shits they are saying in a futile attempt to prevent people from panicking. If he hadn't died and came back to the past, he would have believed their words. But not this time. He has come fully prepared to battle this apocalypse. His house is fully stocked with supplies and the house is reinforced with heating system. While sniffing the pleasant aroma of the drink, he smiles knowing that he has prepared everything he needs and there is no need to worry about survival for now. His phone started ringing. Messages from his apartment complex are all about the current crisis. As our boy had expected, people are starting to panic. Then, one particular message catches the attention of Han Feng. It states that the Ice Age apocalypse is about to begin. Our boy flinches. This is really a surprise to him. How could anyone other than him know about the Ice Age apocalypse? Getting wary of this mysterious person, our boy becomes serious. He deems it necessary to be mindful around this unknown man. Inside the group chat, the people are arguing about procuring supplies. They don't know when the weather will revert to normal, so they are fighting on who will go to the supermarket to fetch supplies. The people are protesting for the property manager to show themselves and give explanation to their current situation. The agents apologize to the angry mobs, saying that they couldn't really do anything with the weather being this bad. However, the people aren't accepting any apologies. They are hungry and they need food to survive. So, if the property managers wouldn't be of much help, they demand to get their refund on the fees that they are paying them. Han Feng, who is amongst the crowd, scoffs at everyone present. He knows that this crisis is beyond the control of humans, so this fight amongst them is completely meaningless. One of the residents steps up and tries to calm everyone down. He states that the snowstorm is so violent that even if the property managers try to clear the snow by themselves, it will just be covered again. As such, he suggests that they all work together to clear the snow so that they can leave the complex and buy some food. However, as expected, there will be people who opposes to such thoughts. Their reasoning is that they are paying the property managers for this exact moment, so they won't waste their energy helping. The man stood firm with his suggestion. He states that it is impossible for car to travel in this condition, so he will ask the property managers to clean the footpath, and everyone can walk to the supermarket. Our boy just stares at the man doing all the talking. He has some recollection of this person, recalling that his name is Zhang. In his previous life, he was a very lively person, and as demonstrated today, he's one to unite people under his banner. Then, one user interrupts the debate, saying that all these talks are nonsense. He comments that anyone who wants to go outside should just do so without troubling other people. With that said, he logged out of the discussion room, showing how disinterested he is. Followed by that man's disappearance, one overly dressed character steps up, saying that he will head down to help clear the path because he needs to do some business with his brothers outside amounting to millions. Our boy immediately knew that the one talking is none other than Brother Lai. His arrogant and con artist nature is very obvious even online. With Brother Lai volunteering, a lot of people followed through, and thus the discussion about it was finalized. Some people with cute characters started raising their hands as well, saying that even though she's physically weak, she will do her best. Then another pretty character jumps in, trying to earn the sympathy in favor of others. This person acted all cute. Our boy immediately knew that this character would be Yona, the cunning bitch. Hearing that Yona will go, all of her simps hopped in as well, saying that they are willing to cooperate. Irritated by the bitch, our boy leaves the chat. He can't help but admit that Yona is really good at catching people's heart. Even him was a victim of her acts. Yona then messaged our boy directly, asking what he has been up to lately. She mentions that our boy told her that he would contact her, so she's been waiting. The bitch then asks our boy a favor to go get her some supplies, then proceeds to send him a seductive selfie wearing too little despite the cold. Even though he's no longer a simp for the deceitful witch, our hero is still contemplating on how to reply to her. It took him too long to reply that it pissed Yona for waiting. She throws her phone on the bed and stomps it, venting her frustration towards Han Feng. Today is the third day since it started snowing. The temperature is no minus 20 degrees Celsius. In the early stage of the apocalypse, they still had the central heating system running, so it wasn't too difficult. Even the internet is still up and running, so everyone is living their lives as usual. As for our hero, he was only scrolling through erotic videos to pass the time. Han Feng scoffs. This is just the second day since he's cooped up in his apartment, and he's already bored to the death. It became clear to him that the biggest threat during the apocalypse is the loneliness that comes with it. His leg is still busted as well. Well, a broken bone needs at least a few months to completely recover, so it's no surprise. Not having better things to do, he decided to continue scrolling through random vids where he come across some news about self-recovery. After the doctors sewed up the wounds of this certain man who jumped off from the 15th floor, they discovered that his damaged internal organs and bones had started to regenerate. This miraculous news gave Han Feng an idea. He remembered that he had an ability that promotes growth. As such, he activates his green flame and started placing his hand on his broken leg, wondering if there will be some kind of effects. Pouring everything he's got to this little experiment, our boy stood still and waited. However, the green flame just dissipates after some moment without producing any results. Han Feng lies down the couch feeling a bit disappointed. He thought that the green light would be able to help him recover his injury faster. Drowsiness hits our hero, and he falls asleep after a single yawn. As his consciousness fades, the next thing he sees is him wearing some tribal headgear while riding a mountain goat. And from what it seems, he's traveling with the herd of goats through somewhere. As we continue Han Feng's dream, we see our boy cruising with the goats. However, the previous green scenery has changed into red. The grass and the surroundings have been tainted with the crimson color of blood, and the goat that our boy is riding became moody. It's suddenly rearing, sending our boy flying into the air backwards. Naturally, Han Feng became confused at what was happening, since the atmosphere a while ago was fine. He falls to the ground but first, and he sprained his ankle in the process. Our hero quivers in pain as he endures the agonizing injury caused by the fall. His facial expression indicates how bad the impact was, and he started gritting his teeth. One of the goats approaches him and started licking his injured ankle. The sensation was a bit weird and disgusting, but our boy felt a little comfort from it. Still dazed and confused, our boy pushes the goat away from him. He's too concerned about his injury to be able to give any attention to this weird grass muncher. However, when Han Feng pushed away the animal, it stated to become furious. The goat looked at our boy with anger in its eyes, irritated that he was interrupted. Then out of nowhere, its tongue stretched long, and it began wrapping our boy's injured leg. The goat then pulled our boy's foot upward, making Han Feng, who is currently trying to get up, slip back down. The tongue is then enveloped by a green light, as if it's trying to do something on our boy's leg. But before we could actually know what is going on, our hero wakes up from the weird dream. He jumps up from lying position with sweat dripping down his whole body. While trying to figure out what was that hideous and messy dream was all about, Han Feng does his best to catch his breath and calm his mind. Since he was too busy thinking, it took him a while to realize that something has changed in his body. When he notices it, he quickly looked at his injured ankle and sees that a green light is being emitted inside the bandages. Our boy removes the cast from his foot and tries stand up. Surprisingly, his injured leg doesn't hurt anymore and it seems to be functioning as good as new. Han Feng smiles upon seeing this, knowing that he can move around freely now. He goes to the kitchen, wondering if the green light really helps with self-recovery while sleeping. Curious, he went ahead and grabbed a knife, eager to test the theory out. He slowly placed the knife close to his hand, thinking about slicing it for a little bit. Despite shaking and being uncertain of his next move, our boy steeled his resolve and cuts the tip of his finger. The wound started bleeding, and pain signals are being sent to our boy's brain. Han Feng then immediately activated his green flame, enveloping his wounded hand. He grins at the result, shouting that he finally understands how things work. We are then taken to the outside of the apartment complex, and as was talked before, several residents have started clearing up a path they can use. Jiang claps his hand, praising everyone who did their best for their community. Just like his character inside the group chat, Jiang wears eyeglasses and has a very pleasing personality. He apologizes to Old Man Liu for troubling him in such a heavy snow day, but he's thankful that they all agreed to his plan. In response, Uncle Liu states that he didn't do much in this activity, it was the Jin brother who did most of the work. Jin Wen and Jin Wu were flustered after being praised for their hard work, and they humble accepted the acknowledgement. Suddenly, a girl's butt hits the ground because of exhaustion. The brothers quickly attended to the girl, asking if she is alright. They tell her not to sit on the ground for long because it's frozen and she might catch a cold. The girl turns out to be the adorable nurse from before, Nurse Jin. She reassures the brothers that she's fine and that there is no need to worry. A relaxing smile is present on her face, elevating the mood. After confirming that she's okay, the brothers inform her that they will go ahead and clean up the main path now, but Jin doesn't have to hesitate to call them if she needs anything. The cute lady acknowledges this but states that she's fine by herself. On the other hand, Jiang tells everyone that the snow is getting heavier, they will have to act quicker so they will still have time to purchase supplies later. The conversation about supplies reminds the Old Man Liu about something. Curious, Jiang asks him what it was, but Liu just scratched his head, commenting that it is nothing significant to mention. He heard that for the past few days, an owner in their neighborhood has been bringing back supplies on a small truck like he's moving a house. It seems like he's talking about our boy. Not wanting to overthink it, Jiang remarks that such a thing is a common occurrence. The person might be someone who just moved in or is doing some household renovations. However, the old man tips his hat and disagrees, saying that he saw gas tanks and a fireplace, which isn't something normal for someone moving in. He comments that the man in question seemed like he was making preparation to get through the winter. Before he could even draw his conclusions, the Jin brothers approached the two, informing them that they have already cleared the main road, so they should be able to go out now. The old man acknowledges their effort, thanking the two once again for their diligence. Suddenly, a man with huge eye bags creeps behind them while smoking his cigar. He mentions about the previous talk about someone making preparations to get through winter, stating that the topic was interesting. But before he could pursue the issue further, a large snowball came flying straight to him, hitting the back of his head. The impact was so strong that it pushed the man's eyes out, and his cigarette fell from his mouth. The icy projectile came from the busty lady from behind. Yeah, she tells the man, Kuan Yu, to stop skiving and orders him to get back to work. Kuan Yu protests that he was the one who did all the work, and the lady who is bossing him around was just watching from the sides. However, Yan just quickly dismissed his displeasure and reprimands him for pointing to people while talking. Noticing their senseless bickering, Jiang tells the two to stop quarreling and inform them that the main path has now been cleared. The diligent man tells everyone to get ready to head out to the supermarket to buy their much-needed supplies. Nurse Jin quickly acknowledges his words and put up a cheery smile. The Jinwoo and Jinwen are troubled because there are a lot that needed to be bought. Wen states that he will send a message to their mother, thinking that they probably need something to buy as well. Uncle Liu then turns to Jiang, asking his thoughts about the matter. He wants to know if the eyeglasses man thinks that the topic from earlier is related to this snowstorm. Jiang then pauses for a bit, as if he's thinking carefully on what to say next. When he opens his mouth, he lets out a smile and states that he is not too concerned about this current situation in all honesty. He remarks that this weather anomaly is just a brief snowstorm and that it will stop very soon. At that time, everyone's lives will return to normal, so for now, he doesn't think that the said person was actually preparing for this winter. He goes to say that even if they take a step back and assume that this snowstorm won't stop, if someone in their neighborhood possesses a huge number of resources, it will be a good thing for the whole community. Hearing this, Old Man Liu laughs, commenting that the young ones really do use their brain more. The abnormal blizzard continues, dropping more snow than yesterday. Jiang then rallies everyone, instructing them to queue up and get ready to move out. The snow is getting heavier, so they need to move in an orderly fashion and try to go home within 3 hours. And thus, the residents of the apartment complex started their arduous journey to the supermarket, combating the harsh weather that the world is experiencing right now. On the other hand, inside one of the houses of the building, we see our boy lying on bed with his eyes turned white. His sleep is interrupted by someone loudly banging on his door, calling him little brother while telling him to open the door. Han Feng groans as he pushes himself to wake up. While still drowsy, Han Feng opens the door and apologizes to his visitor, stating that he was sleeping. The one at his doorstep is none other than our favorite con artist, Brother Lai. While still smoking his cigar and wearing excessive fashion style, the man informs our boy that he has brought the item Han Feng has purchased, a semi-automatic rifle loaded with ammunition. Of course, our boy is delighted upon hearing this news from Brother Lai. All of his previous drowsiness disappeared as the con man hands him the guitar case. In response, Lai states that the boss wanted to show his appreciation to Han Feng for giving them a heads up on the upcoming supply scarcity. Our boy just laughs it off, saying that it was nothing. Then, the blonde man becomes all serious as he remembers something important. Naturally, our boy became curious as to why the atmosphere around the man changed, so he asks if something is wrong. He then breaks a very shocking news to our boy. As it turns out, the supermarket in the East District has been emptied out by someone in just one night. They tried to go there and buy supplies, but when they've arrived, there's not a single item in the store. Han Feng was taken aback after hearing this news. Sweat drips down his face as he gulps a huge chunk of saliva from disbelief. He wonders if the thing in his previous life is still indeed happening this time around. His contemplation is then interrupted by Brother Lai, informing him that he will be going ahead now. Before the con artist heads out, he made sure to remind our boy to wear more layers of clothes in order to stay warm, which our boy happily acknowledges. Brother Lai takes his leave, and our boy finds himself alone in his room once again. He quickly closes the door of his house so that no other people could take a glimpse on his room and see all of his hoarded supplies. Han Feng is still puzzled by the news that was told by Brother Lai. He wonders how could a person be capable of secretly emptying out an entire supermarket in one night. No matter how you think of it, it seems impossible. Even our hero, who has a lot of money and is already aware of the upcoming apocalypse, couldn't buy everything that the supermarket has to offer. Left with no other logical conclusion, he began thinking about the comics and novels that he used to read. In those fictional stories, there are those superhumans who could store things into another dimension. Since Han Feng himself has been reborn with a strange power, he thinks that something like this might also be possible. However, if that would be true, a superhuman who has dimensional type ability is really worrisome. Our boy clenches his fist really tight as he ponders about the thought. He sits on the couch and decides that he needs to do more research on his ability. If there really are other superhumans out there, he needs to have countermeasures against them. With his current understanding of his power, he knows that his ability affects all kinds of food supplies, being able to increase their quantity or size. The condition and effects differ, but they do work on both vegetables and meat. Our boy then grabs a bean from the bowl as he contemplates about the success rate. According to him, the success rate of using his ability is really low. The soybean success rate is 1 out of 10, while the meat cans fail tens of times. If this continues, his power wouldn't be that useful, for it will only waste more supplies than it could create. He fiddles around a single soybean on his hand as he wonders what could be the reason on his failure. While he is doing so, Han Feng gently activates his green flame and attempts to affect the bean on his hand. Suddenly, a small explosion occurs after his power integrates with the bean. Our boy was surprised from the green powdery smoke that is launched into the air, making him flinch. As the smoke dissipates, it reveals a stone-like subject on his hand. The soybean that was previously on his hand has now turned into an unknown rock-like material. Our boy is now absolutely triggered by the high failure rate. He crushes the thing on his hand as he declares that he will figure out exactly how his power works today, even if it's the last thing he will do. Time passes and it is now 10:45 in the evening. From the looks of it, our boy has spent all of his time practicing, evident by the scattered soybeans on the background. We then see a fully grown plant on our boy's hand. It seems that he has successfully grown some of the beans. As for Han Feng himself, we hear heavy breathing as our boy tries to catch his breath. The scene zooms out and we see our shirtless boy on the verge of exhaustion. It seems that he has repeatedly tried the experiment because the soybeans that were overflowing in the bowl earlier is now emptied out. Fortunately, our boy has realized something from his failure. When using the green light, the energy output isn't constant, which explains why he gets different results even though he's using the same power on the same type of supply. As it turns out, every type of food has their own corresponding energy values, and for the transformation to be a success, our boy has to figure out that energy value and play around with it. If he ever slightly goes past through the energy value of the food or he exposed it with his power past its critical point, it will instantly result to failure. Suddenly, he is reminded of something that looks like the model of his power. He recalls about the online dancing game that was popular decades ago, something like Dance Revolution, in which you have to step on the corresponding arrow at the exact moment. In order to help him visualize his power, he thinks of energy values as directional input keys. With that, he decides that energy inputs have to be correct for every second. And lastly, he has to pinpoint the critical point or the timing on when he needs to fluctuate his power. As such, our boy gives his utmost concentration as he pours his green flame power into the soybean. And after a while, the seed grew into a perfectly full-grown plant. If it will be observed closely, it is better than the previous ones he has successfully grew. Our boy can't help but laugh at his victory. He now knows how to use his green light aura. With that being said, our boy goes to the kitchen and decides that he needs to experiment on meat as well. It is as if all of his previous exhaustion and tiredness were all washed away by his success. Looking back at the past results, our boy concludes that meats are different from vegetables. It becomes a black liquid if it fails, and it is extremely disgusting and foul. Han Feng grabs a piece of chicken meat on his right hand and some soybeans on his left. Last time, he was able to combine pork and soybeans together, giving him a high-quality meat that is not only superior in freshness but also in size compared to the original. He stares at the two ingredients and thinks that the principal theory of combining them shouldn't be too different. He places the two ingredients together and went on to do the same process he did earlier. Firstly, he tries to grasp the energy values that the meat requires. He notices that the time needed seems to be longer compared to the vegetables. Everything was going smooth and our boy is hitting the arrows perfectly on time. That is until he makes a slight blunder. In an instant after missing just one arrow, the meat explodes into a black liquid and splurges all around our boy. Not wanting to give up, Han Feng decides to give it another go, but it once again resulted to failure. He tries it once more, but he misses a step right at the get-go, causing the meat to explode again. Frustrated but not willing to admit defeat, he grabs another ingredient and went for it again. He was actually doing good this time, but it ultimately resulted to black explosion nonetheless. Our boy had enough. He throws a tantrum and complains that the difficulty for the process is too high, nearly impossible. Time passes, but the blizzard outside doesn't seem to be stopping anytime soon. Black liquid oozes around the kitchen of our hero, evident that he has been repeating the same process over and over again. We then see him sitting on a chair with the ingredients still on his hand. The room is completely silent. It is so quiet that we can almost hear our boy's heartbeat. On the other hand, Han Feng is completely still, focusing all of his concentration on the meat. Slowly and precisely, our boy perfectly follows the inputs. Step by step, arrow by arrow, Han Feng is perfectly matching the timing and energy value required. Right at the perfect moment, Han Feng opens his eyes and performs the final step. The result is a magnificently looking dinosaur meat. The final product looks like a meat that came from a huge prehistory bird. Han Feng smiles with satisfaction evident in his eyes. His whole body is sweating from the exhausting procedure, but he's ultimately happy that he was able to successfully use his power. Our boy then collapses to the floor, desperately trying to catch his breath. On his side, we can see how massive the meat turned out to be. It is longer than our boy's arm, and is wider than his whole torso. Having one of that meat will be able to feed you for a week. While panting, our boy eases his mind, knowing that he finally found the synthesis method for meats. With that being said, he has successfully figured out how his red and green light powers work. The next day, the snowstorm is getting more violent. We hear the sound of a television revealing today's news. Today is the 17th of July, the third day of the snowstorm. According to the news, the entire country is experiencing the worst snowstorm of the century. While the television goes on, we see our boy lying peacefully on his bed, still recovering from the exhausting process he did earlier. To ensure standard basic living for everyone, defenses and measures have been taken for all locations. The news states that due to the weather anomaly, all traffic, electricity, and networks are starting to break down. They urge the mass to patiently wait for the maintenance by support personnel. It made sure to remind everyone that the government is also delivering resources to affected regions, so they are asking for everyone to stay home unless they have special circumstances. Han Feng stretches his limbs. The way things are now, it is exactly the same in his previous life. Suddenly, his phone rings upon receiving a message notification. It is a message from their residence group chat, and from the looks of it, some people are quarreling over something. Our boy wastes no time and decided to join the fun, curious on what exactly is happening. As he logs in, the server is already jam-packed with his neighbors, all yapping and talking. Han Feng notices that they are having such an intense quarrel and surmises that the people must have watched the news. Some people believe in waiting for support, while the others are quarreling while thinking of how to save themselves. This difference in opinions created a discord amongst the people. Suddenly, one of the residences steps up, asking everyone if they really believe in the news. His peculiar question and tone of voice catches everyone's attention. The person turns out to be the old man, Uncle Liu. He states that if the situation really was under control like what the news said, then the support team would have arrived long time ago. However, the old man remarks that up until now, they have not seen a single truck filled with resources coming to support them. Rather, he heard his friends say that a lot of armored vehicles, tanks, and heavy weapons are heading towards City A, so there's only one possibility left. In a very concerning tone of voice, Uncle Liu gives his 2 cents about their current situation. He states that a war is about to commence. Naturally, his assumption instilled fear in the hearts of everyone hearing it. We are now back to the group chat where all the residents on our hero's apartment are gathered. Last time, Old Man Liu stated that the military was probably preparing for war with all the military vehicles being mobilized in the city. Naturally, everyone panicked upon hearing the news. Their resource situation is already as bad as it gets, and now a war might potentially break out. This would only mean that resources will become even more scarce. Right then, Jiang intervenes, stating that if the old man's guess is true, then they should really start taking measures to save themselves. Since the government will be too preoccupied with the said issue, they won't have the time to assist every hungry mouth. The eyeglass man remarks that there are already some owners in their neighborhood who have run out of food because they did not hoard enough supplies. Moreover, they don't have a confirmed time of arrival of the support resources from that government. So, he suggests they should start organizing themselves first and help the owners facing difficulties. With conviction, he declares that owners with ample food supplies should donate some of their own to those owners who have run out. Jiang states that this charity will start with him, boldly stating that he will donate half of his food supplies to anyone in need. This unbelievable declaration from Four Eyes garnered mixed reactions from the crowd, mostly positive. They are still skeptical of the man's generosity, but to loudly say it in front of everyone makes it somehow believable. Guan Yu expresses his support for Jiang's idea, saying that everyone in their neighborhood should help each other out to try and get through this crisis together. They can't just let some families starve in such cold weather. As such, he announces his participation in the donation as well, and asks Yona if she will do too. Behind the scenes, Yona is absolutely losing her patience against Guan Yu for putting her on the spot. Naturally, this greedy wretch wouldn't want to waste any of her supplies for others, but she can't let her true thoughts show up because it will ruin her reputation. As such, she puts up a damsel in distress act, saying that she won't be able to spare any donation because she is in a pinch as well. Not surprisingly, some of her simps immediately went to defend her, telling Guan Yu to lay off, but this only pisses the man, so he states that he won't be donating anymore if people can't guarantee unity amongst each other. Because of that interaction, the people are divided into factions, those who would want to help others, and those who want to save themselves. A long discussion and pondering occurs, but unity ultimately wins. With Jiang as the catalyst, plenty of people started offering their excess goods to those in need. They offer medicine, clothes, food, and essential items that will help others. As such, Jiang was moved by the cooperation of his neighbors. He expresses his gratitude towards the generous owners, appreciating their understanding. Now that quite a lot of people are willing to help, he suggests that they appoint people to take charge of the donations. He states that it will be an interim emergency committee that will establish themselves to be responsible for the planning and support of donated supplies. Not surprisingly, this cunning bastard already pictured himself leading the committee. Han Feng, on the other hand, cannot help but laugh at this silly attempt of helping each other. He recalls that such a thing happened in his previous life as well, and as we have expected, it was all just a scheme to take other people's resources. Today is the 19th of July, and it marks the 5th day of the icy apocalypse. The temperature outside has already dropped to -40 degrees. At this point, the central heating system is no longer in working condition due to the extreme weather, and now everyone is thinking of ways to keep themselves warm and maintain their body temperature. This scenario is exactly the same as our boy's previous life. As such, he's certain that the situation will just continue to get worse from here on out. Everyone will have a hard time coping with the unexpected crisis, well, everyone except for Han Feng. While the others are saving their energy to maintain their body heat and not freeze to death, our hero is leisurely eating dessert and even drinking ice-cold drinks because he has a good heating system. We can see that our boy is truly enjoying himself as he energetically moves in his couch while playing his video games. Suddenly, Han Feng's phone rings. As he answers the caller, he states that he is the person in charge of Block 8, and he informs our boy that they will be heading down to clear the roads in 20 minutes. He tells Han Feng that if he's done with his task, our boy must head down to the basement car park. This call incurs the rage of our boy. The snow is so heavy outside, there is no way that our boy would want to expose himself to such cold. He would love to protest against the man on the other line, but he doesn't want to garner needless attention for now. As such, in the next scene, we see our unmotivated boy on the first floor of the main lobby. He had no choice but to comply with the people in charge so that he won't become subject to unwanted hate. He also thinks that he has to lower the possibility of someone finding out about his secrets. As they make their way outside, the volunteers see that the entrance on the first floor has been completely blocked by the snow. It was only yesterday when the people cleared the pavement so that they can go to the supermarket, yet, in just one day, all their efforts are now gone, and they ended up in a worse event. Two of the volunteers asks for our hero's help in pushing the door that is blocked by the snow. From our boy's face, we can tell he doesn't really like to join their futile action, but he has no other choice. The three men lean toward the door, and on the count of 3, they all put their strength to their backs and started pushing the clogged door. From their combined efforts, the three were able to open the door, and as soon as it did, a terrifyingly cold wind instantly blew into the apartment complex. Everyone shivered from the extreme temperature, and of course, our hero was the only one who expected this kind of coldness. It was so bad that they couldn't even open their eyes properly. Our boy ducks down and curls himself to retain as much heat as possible. At first, he was hesitant to even go downstairs, but now he doesn't really want to step outside to help. They will surely get serious frostbite if they head out in this kind of weather. Worse, they might even die. Thankfully, our boy isn't the only one who thought of such a thing. Even the others started complaining about the impossibility of the task they were given. Now, almost everyone is protesting against clearing the path. Then suddenly, our boy hears a familiar voice, saying that he has finally arrived. Fang flinches upon hearing the man, but his dead expression from earlier disappears. The man is none other than our favorite con man, Brother Lai. He barges into the room, arrogantly asking why everyone is acting like a coward. Fang immediately knew that Lai's arrival couldn't be good, for he will definitely push everyone to clear the path. But of course, the others wouldn't be forced to act in this weather just like that. They politely tell Lai that it is impossible to move in this kind of cold. They suggest waiting for the snow to grow weaker first before doing something. Unfortunately, all their words went in Lai's one ear and out to the other. The ever-so-confident young man thrusts himself towards the pile of snow and started digging. He vigorously flails his arms back and forth, trying to clear the path, but to be honest, it's not really doing anything. Actually, he was able to dig a hole big enough to fit him and he went straight through. Then after some time, he began screaming for help. It looks like he got stuck inside the thick layer of snow, and since the hole is too narrow to reposition himself, he can't turn around and go back. The people combined their efforts to rescue the stupid conman. When they got him out of the snow, his complexion had already turned purple. He was too close to freezing to death. And with that, they closed the door to prevent the freezing wind from coming in. If Brother Lai achieved anything from his little fiasco, that would be proving that it is indeed impossible to clear a path. Our boy quickly attended to Lai's care, keeping him warm, then asks if the man is okay. Seeing what happened to Brother Lai, Fang invites everyone to go to the car park to look for the person in charge and sign their attendance first. After that, they will decide what to do when the snow stops. Our boy expresses that with this severe snowstorm, it is no longer a situation that can be solved with simple manpower. Inside the parking lot, the people have gathered around Zhang. The reasonable man states that the snow is indeed too heavy right now to clear a path, so he suggests that they wait for the storm to lighten up before taking action. He also states that the basement car park will be designated as the donation and collection point of resources. Our boy on the sideline stares at Zhang and wonders if he's the man who's talking a lot in the group chat. He now finally discovers that this is the one responsible and spearheaded the establishment of the scam committee in both his previous life and this current one. Zhang, on the other hand, continues to play his concerned citizen act and thanks everyone for their undying support. Now I remember where I saw this cunning bastard. He's the spitting image of Aizen from Bleach, both cunning and calculative. He states that he really did not expect so many owners would be willing to donate their resources. He claims that their generous donations will help even more owners who are in a difficult situation. As such, he cannot express his gratitude enough towards them. Most people are moved with Zhang's woes. They even say that everyone faces difficulties at one point or another, so it is only right for them to help each other. According to them, as long as they are united, they believe that they will be able to get through this crisis together. However, our boy is strongly against their optimistic view. Since he has already witnessed how things went down the drain in his previous life, he already knows that they will regret playing along with Giant's schemes. On the other hand, Brother Lai, who is still shivering from the cold, tells our boy that he will be heading back to his room first, so our boy bids him farewell. As Brother Lai takes his leave, our boy's eyes wander to a certain person. She is a cheerful-looking girl with pink hair and eyes. Fang immediately recalled that she is the nurse from before. As diligent and caring as ever, we see Nurse Jin carrying a huge box of presumable supplies. Knowing her personality, I'm guessing that she's here to donate some of her resources. Being the clumsy girl she is, Nurse Jin bumps into some people and loses her balance. Fortunately, our hero was able to catch her right on time. But basing on Jin's expression, it seems like she just accepted her fate, so she closed her eyes and braced for impact. She then turns around to thank the person who caught her, then she immediately recognizes our hero. Nurse Jin is then surprised to see that our boy's leg is all healed up. It wasn't that long since Fang got hospitalized because his leg injury, but now he's well enough to catch Nurse Jin from falling. Our boy was too surprised to answer Jin's inquiry about his leg. He didn't expect that he would be meeting her again, so he didn't know how to explain the situation. In a desperate attempt to explain his recovery, our boy states that his healing speed has always been excellent ever since he was young. He declares that he can recover from common injuries and illness in just a few days. Not surprisingly, the gullible nurse bought our boy's lies without any second thoughts. Rather, she's fully amazed by our boy's supposed fast recovery ability. Wanting to divert away the topic from his injury, Han Feng offers his assistance in carrying Jin's package. Initially, the nurse politely declines, not wanting to be a bother, but our hero insists, saying that it is payback for taking good care of him. Han Feng boasts that he is strong, so carrying the package is no big deal. However, when Nurse Jin hands over the thing, our boy almost breaks his back from how heavy it is. Not wanting to show any weakness, our boy asks what's inside the box. Nurse Jin states that it mostly contains medical supplies, and she's off to donate them to those in need. She then asks our boy if it's too heavy, and if so, she will carry it after all. Even though Han Feng is clearly struggling, all his fatigue is washed away by the adorable smile of the cute nurse. Jin then reveals that she's actually stronger than most guys, so it's okay for our boy to let her carry the boxes. Of course, Han Feng didn't entertain the idea of handing over the package, but he is indeed curious if Jin was that strong ever since she was a kid. The nurse then becomes shy and looks down, meekly saying that she wasn't really that strong before and that there is actually a reason behind her strength. While fidgeting her hands, she states that it is something she can't really explain clearly. She then changes the subject by asking our boy for his name. Now that she thought about it, they never really had the chance to get to know each other. While blushing, our boy states that his name is Han Feng. In response, the nurse gives him a heart-melting smile and introduces herself as Jin Su. While walking, the two engage in casual conversation, asking about their personal lives and jobs. Suddenly, someone bumps into Jin's shoulder. As a result, she trips and falls into our boy, pressing her extra-large package against Han Feng's arms. Nurse Jin quickly jumps back off, apologizing to our hero for her clumsiness. However, Han Feng doesn't really mind. If he will be asked, he'd prefer that they stayed like that a little longer. Then out of nowhere, Yona appears from behind, calling our boy out. She tells our hero that he didn't inform her that he would be here. She suddenly hugs our hero by the arm, pressing her own package as well. The cunning lady then asks if Jin is our boy's friend. Her eyes give off the look of someone who had their toy stolen by a thief. Sensing Hyona's hostility, Jin decides to leave the two alone, apologizing for disturbing their reunion. She quickly takes the boxes from our boy's hands and walks away. As he watches Jin sprint away, our boy asks Yona for her agenda. The cunning witch states that she came down the parking lot to receive some supplies, and since our boy hadn't contacted her before, she's also worried that something bad happened to him. In an attempt to reason his way out, our boy scratches his head and states that he was just about to send her a message. However, Yona doesn't believe him and acts jealous towards Nurse Jin, saying that our boy was happily chatting with her. Going back to the topic at hand, Yona takes this opportunity to ask our boy if he has excess resources that he can give to her. She explains that she's almost run out, so she's wondering if Han Feng could give her some. Our boy smirks upon hearing this. The bitch might still be thinking that he's still a sucker for her, so he will use this opportunity to do some damage. Han Feng comments that he doesn't have much food left, but he can always share some with Yona, as long as she answers the message he sent her a few days ago. Our boy then leans closer to her, asking if she would like to come to his place and accompany him for a few days. Han Feng even hugs, acting like a real playboy. Naturally, Yona was weirded out. Her eyes widen as she looks at our hero with a surprised gaze. She backs away and states that she didn't really get what our boy was asking for at that time. If he wants to talk to her, they can always do so through chat. Of course, we all know that this bitch is just pretending to be innocent. In response, Han Feng turns around, losing interest. Since Yona isn't on board with his naughty plan, then he has no other business to talk to her. However, the opportunistic bastard grabs our hero's clothes, halting him from walking away. In a very meek and shy tone of voice, she states that she feels like Han Feng has changed recently. She comments that she's always been serious with her feelings. However, she doesn't want people to think that she's just sticking with Han Feng for his money, so she asks our boy to give her some time to think about our boy's invitation. In response, Han Feng acts surprised and happy that Yona is seriously considering his proposal. But in reality, our boy is looking at her with enraged eyes. If he hadn't died once already, he would have believed Hyona's lies. But right now, all he really wants to do is tear off the bitch's ugly mask and expose her for who she really is. He also recalls the accomplice of Yona that took away our boy's life. He regrets that he wasn't able to find the identity of the man that killed him. However, it then struck to him that he would just repeat the same actions he did from his past life and wait for Yona and her boyfriend to come attack him again so he could exact his revenge. Going back to the present, Han Feng tells Yona that he was just teasing her to see her reaction. The lady acts all surprised by our boy's statement. She didn't expect that our boy was capable of pulling such underhanded tricks. Han Feng then grabs both of Hyona's arms and stares at her right into the eyes. He states that he will be waiting for Hyona's honest reply, but he will still deliver some food to her tomorrow. Now that the bitch has heard what she wanted to hear, she butters up our boy for a bit, saying that he's the best before leaving him alone. As she turns around, she tells our hero that they can always talk online. As the sly fox leaves our boy alone, a sinister grin creeps up her face. She knows that she once again made a fool of our boy and now she can suck some supplies from him. What she didn't know is that Han Feng is also wearing an evil smirk on his face. He knows that Yona would be expecting the supplies from him by tomorrow, but from the looks of it, our boy wouldn't really be doing that. The next day, the storm continues to worsen, and almost all of the buildings are covered in a thick layer of snow. Meanwhile, our boy's phone is buzzing with messages from Yona asking for her promised supplies. It is very apparent that she is growing more and more impatient with each message that our boy doesn't respond to. While his phone is buzzing non-stop, we see our boy happily chowing down his delectable pork meal. Unlike the others who are struggling to even eat anything, our boy is leisurely eating his pork chop without any care in the world. As we continue, we see our boy, Han Feng, leisurely eating his meal. The numerous experiments during the past few days have allowed him to confirm two things. First, meat cannot be expanded limitlessly. Second, like soybean, meat can be reproduced limitlessly. Every time a stalk of beans sprouted, our boy would use half of it to grow more beans again, and he would only consume half. He uses the same practice when cultivating meat as well. Under the two kinds of light, half a piece of steak with a few soybeans can produce a full piece of steak. The same process will yield more and more steak. Han Feng conducted numerous tests after that as well. As such, he thinks that he shouldn't have to worry about nothing to eat in the future, for he has unlimited supply of food. As of today, the weather is continuing to get worse. It is the 2nd of August, the 19th day of the snowstorm. A reporter from Batu Hithai Island in Maldives, which is 78 kilometers from the equator, has an average temperature lower than -42 degrees. The entire island has almost completely been engulfed by ice and snow. Even the ocean is freezing up at a speed that can be observed with human eyes. According to expert readings, the ice layer has already reached 55 centimeters in depth. From their understanding, the situation in countries near the equator are pretty similar to our boy's location. Han Feng, who is comfortably watching the news, can't help but laugh at how the media is portraying the situation. He states that their current situation is far worse than what they show. Suddenly, a loud explosion occurs from a distance, spooking our boy. Some of his wine spills from the glass from the shock. He gazes out the window and sees a huge fire burning far from his home. This is already the 7th explosion that has happened in just the past few days, making our boy wonder what exactly is happening outside. Then, a group of helicopters cruise the air. This is really unusual, because there haven't been any reports in the news about this, and also, the government has been real quiet about what to expect next. Our boy quickly checks his phone, and as he has expected, the situation outside is causing mass panic for the already anxious homeowners. His neighbors are all in the basement car park trading for necessary goods and food supplies. This method greatly benefits each other, making sure that they all have what they need. However, there are also many owners taking this opportunity to take advantage of others, which naturally led to several conflicts. With the situation getting dire as it is, it's really difficult to calm the anxious people down. As the atmosphere is starting to get heated, Jiang shows up in perfect timing, bringing along several supplies in tow. The group chat is telling the owners who have been facing difficulties to go down to the basement parking to receive necessary resources for free. Han Feng also went down there to check what is happening, but if it isn't for his curiosity, he wouldn't have left his room and exposed himself to such freezing cold. Even though he is wrapped in several layers of clothing, the cold is still getting through him, causing him to sneeze. He observes the people inside, keeping distance from them. If it wasn't for gathering information, he wouldn't have come down there. Before his rebirth, there was a rebellion in their neighborhood. If our boy's memory serves him right, he thinks that it must be related to these people. However, it puzzles him that this time, they are really giving away resources instead of scamming people, making him wonder what's going on. With that in mind, Han Feng decides to find out the real situation first. From his experience in his past life, this neighborhood isn't the kind to have such unity. The number of households facing difficulties is quite high, and the queue for the free resources is pretty long. Of course, we can't rule out the possibility that the others are just pretending to be in need to get extra supplies. Then, one resident who donated several large boxes of resources complains about his share, saying that what they are giving him is too few to suffice. Jiang explains that they are trying to give everyone an equal amount of resources. The angry man then demands that they just return the supplies he has donated, saying that he is done helping others and would just look out for himself. However, the eyeglasses man apologizes, saying that they can't return the resources that are already donated. He states that the disaster is still ongoing, so he hopes that the man can look at the bigger picture. Once the crisis is over, Jiang claims that he will pay the man back several times in cash. But the man insists that no one knows how long the snowstorm will last, so he would rather get his supplies back. As the argument starts to get heated, the other people waiting in line started to intervene. They shame the man for being too annoying, claiming that Jiang has already promised compensation, so there's no need for him to start lashing out. The people ganged up on the man who donated his supplies before, calling him shameless for wanting his resources back. They state that the committee also have it rough just like they do, so no one should be above the other. Han Feng smirks at the comical sight of these desperate people. In his mind, he thinks that there's no way they would give the supplies back to the man in this current situation. However, he can't help but laugh at the hypocrisy of the people who called the man shameless for putting themselves on a higher moral ground. He states that if there's anyone shameless here, it's them. Suddenly, one person with dry lips sneaks up to our boy and voices out what's on Han Feng's mind. Our boy was a bit surprised by the sudden appearance of the familiar man. He is none other than our favorite con man, Brother Lai. He greets our boy with a forced smile on his face. From the looks of it, Brother Lai is struggling as well in surviving this apocalypse. He has thinned out from the last time we met him. Our boy checks up on him, asking how he has been. As expected, the naturally boastful man states that he's not doing too bad as he forces another smile. However, he admits that he is just trembling from being flustered and powerless. Our boy can't help but pity the state of the man. It seems like he wouldn't last long at this rate. Brother Lai's stomach then growls from hunger. He comments that it is difficult to just depend on drinking water to suppress hunger. Our boy was shocked upon discovering that the man doesn't any food left that fast. The con man reveals that he was thinking of helping the neighbors previously, so he donated most of his resources to the committee. In the end, his food supplies ran out before the snowstorm ended. To make things worse, the supplies that the committee is giving out are too little, so he hasn't been able to eat anything in a while. If he had known that this would happen, he would have kept more resources for himself. Then, a smile creeps up on our boy's face. He puts his arm on Brother Lai's shoulder, asking if he can do him a favor. He then started whispering something to the con man, and the blonde dude listened carefully to his words. After our boy finishes talking, Brother Lai confirms what our boy just said. He asks if Han Feng is being serious on giving him 4 packs of instant noodles and 2 sausages for such a simple favor. In response, our boy tells him not to think too little of the reward because he doesn't much left in stock as well. Learning that Han Feng is willing to share some of his limited supplies to him touched the heart of the con man. He remarks that our boy is just looking for an excuse to give him food, so he put him up with such simple task. With tears in his eyes, Brother Lai states that he will not forget Han Feng's generosity. In response, our boy claims that there is no need for such courtesy between brothers, hinting that he's always there to help him. Brother Lai then puts his hand on our boy's shoulder, reassuring him that he will complete the favor, and Han Feng tells him to come to his house for the food later. With that being said, the two bid their farewells to each other. Brother Lai states that he will fall in line first and collect his rations for today. Of course, in reality, Han Feng has heaps of supplies to even feed everyone in the complex, so he feels great that Brother Lai accepted the favor for just a few packs of instant noodles and sausages. In this way, he won't have to come down to the basement personally to gather information in the future. Although he feels a bit sorry for tricking Brother Lai, such feeling of remorse is not as important for our boy compared to comfortable lazing on his sofa while eating delicious food and playing games. As Han Feng walks away from the crowd, someone angrily shouts his name. Suddenly, a hand of a female comes flying straight towards his face. The woman turns out to be the vixen Yona, and it seems that she is really furious at our hero, claiming that she's really disappointed in Han Feng. The witch shouts at our boy, asking why is he not responding to her messages. Her scream is starting to make a ruckus, garnering the attention of everyone in the basement. On the other hand, our boy is bewildered at what has just transpired. He's not concerned about Yona getting angry at him, or that she's attracting too much needless attention. Rather, it infuriates him that this shameless woman just slapped him. His face is beet red from the strike, indicating how forceful it was. He then recalls the atrocities that the vixen did to him in his past life. It angers him that he hasn't even settled her previous debts, yet she had the audacity to slap him for no reason at all. Veins began popping out on our boy's face from his anger. He wonders if this witch really thinks that he's so easy to bully. Meanwhile, Yona is still yapping on our boy, asking if he's deaf or mute for not responding. To calm his nerves, Han Feng takes a deep breath. He then apologizes to Yona and starts to explain the situation. He reveals that he placed his resources outside his door and went back in to get his keys, but they were already gone by the time he came back out. Desperate, the crazy woman asks Han Feng if he searched for it, to which he says yes, but he hasn't found any clue at all. The shameless woman then asks if our boy still has resources left. It really shows that she just wants to leech off of Han Feng for supplies. Our boy regretfully informs her that he has very few left. It will only last him a few days if he eats 1 meal a day. This crazy girl then smiles, claiming that it's great news. It is as if she doesn't really know how to read the mood, or she's just that shameless. She tells our boy that he can split half of his remaining supplies with her and just eat 1 meal every 2 days. In that way, she claims that the two of them can get through the disaster together. Han Feng already knew that Yona is a greedy fox, but he didn't know that she is this brazen to be capable of saying such words. He then remembers that to her eyes, our boy is nothing more than a tool she can use whenever she needed. After collecting his composure, Han Feng agrees to Yona's suggestion, saying that he has promised her after all, so he will split it equally. Delighted, the vixen smiles and asks if he can bring them down right now, but our boy states that he will just text her at night and they can meet up. She then again uses her charm to try and excite our boy, saying that she will wait for his message. Yona heads back to her house first but reminds our boy to take care and don't catch flu. Our boy waves goodbye to her, telling her to wait for him later at night. Time passes and we see Yona flooding our boy's notification by sending heaps of messages asking about his whereabouts. Han Feng isn't replying nor picking up her calls, so she starts thinking if our boy stood up on her once again. Desperate, she thinks about going to Han Feng's house herself, but the elevator isn't accessible due to the cold. Because she couldn't contact our hero, the greedy woman was left with no choice but to come and visit Han Feng's house. Despite our boy's house being way up several floors, she still climbs the stairs. As she ascends, she curses our boy for ignoring her. She claims that if it weren't for the resources, there'd be no way that she will ever meet up with him nor even look in his way. Yona starts panting on the way up. She's been starving for a few days now, and the cold isn't really helping. She gambled all her remaining energy to go to our boy's place, hoping that she'll get some supplies. As she nears the place, she notices that the emergency lights of the building have also stopped working. Every step she takes is becoming harder and harder. Then, she hears someone from above, so she asks who it is, but the person up high didn't respond. The next thing she sees a trash bag falling rapidly towards her. It is as if it was intentional. It's too late and Yona isn't able to move an inch from where she's standing. At this rate, the trash bag will surely hit her. Then, a loud crash is heard all over the staircase. Later on, we see Yona's head filled with snow and disgusting unknown liquids. Fortunately for her, it seems that there is no solid stuff inside the trash. We then see our boy apologizing to her, saying that he fell asleep. However, he states that he came running down with the supplies as soon as he saw the girl's texts. He didn't expect that the lights would suddenly switch off, ran into a railing and dropped the flour. Yona gets angry upon hearing this, calling our boy a pig for not being able to do such a simple task. She then tries to remove the stinky liquid that she got from the trash bag falling on her. Han Feng is laughing internally as he watches the vixen's struggles. He states that this is something he specially prepared for her. Then, he shows her the remaining resources he claims he has. Yona's anger slightly decreases upon hearing this, showing how much of a pig she is. When she opens the plastic bag, she gets horrified at the sight of the so-called food that our hero gave. They are all leftovers and are on the verge of rotting. Some of them even have molds. Han Feng acts a bit embarrassed for only being able to offer this much, saying that he had to eat carefully to keep so much of these leftovers in stock. The greedy woman then complains of how dirty it is, asking if it's even edible. Our boy gets angry upon hearing her complain. He pulls the bag towards him and states that she can just give it back if she doesn't want it. Desperate, Yona pulls the food again and secures it, saying that she didn't say she don't want it. Her pitiful state is almost comical given of how proud she is for her looks. Our boy makes a good long stare at her. He can't believe that this pitiful woman in front of him is the goddess that he was pursuing with all his might before. She then demands the flour as well, being extra greedy. To make things worse, her attitude is so commanding like our boy owes her anything. Happy with her loot, she takes off, not even saying thanks to our boy. However, Han Feng smirks at her, for in reality, the content of that plastic bag is not actually his resources, rather, it is his literal trash. Little did Yona knows, that pile of garbage is enough to give her an upset stomach for a few days. This is our boy's way of taking revenge on her for all the deceit and treachery she committed to him in this life and in the previous. As he heads back home, our boy laughs at the fact that Yona won't be able to remove the disgusting garbage that's spilled all over her body, for you can't even take a shower in this cold weather. As our boy enters his room, his face turns serious and all the amusement he had from before disappears. As it turns out, someone is following him from behind. He enters the room and the shadowed figure follows him. When the intruder's foot enters our boy's area, Han Feng quickly takes action and drops the person to the floor. But when he was about to beat the living hell out of the intruder, he sees that the mysterious person is actually a cut and defenseless looking girl. Continuing on, Han Feng confronts his stalker. While pitting her on the ground, our boy asks why she is following him and what is she trying to do. In response, the girl just stares at him with a blank expression on her face. It doesn't seem like she has any ill intentions to our boy, but during this time of crisis, one can never tell. Seeing that the stalker is not intending to talk, Han Feng thinks of ways to threaten her, just to make her budge for a bit. This idiot then says that if she doesn't spill the beans, he's going to tear off all her clothes, while making some creepy hand gestures. Remember folks, never ever do this to anyone even as a joke. The girl just squinted her eyes and didn't do or say anything. It is as if she's provoking our boy to actually do something, if he can that is. Sweat drips down on Han Feng's face. He realizes that his fake threat isn't working, so he just frowns his eyebrows. Even though our boy is quite of an ass sometimes, he's not the type of bastard to commit sexual assault. Realizing how cringe his futile attempt of scaring the girl was, our boy gives up and stands back up. He clicks his tongue and states that he will let the stalker off this time. He gets ready to leave and is prepared to forget that none of this ever happened. Our boy tells the girl to go back to her home and stop playing pranks on people, for the others might not be so kind and might actually try to do something to her. Then, the girl does something that surprised our boy for a bit, causing him to stop walking. It turns out that the stranger is pulling our boy's clothes, purposefully trying to prevent him from leaving. Naturally, Han Feng gets confused as to why the girl is doing this. He asks her once more for her motives, but the nonchalant girl didn't even open her mouth even for a bit. At this point, our boy is getting annoyed by her quietness and says that he will definitely leave if she won't say anything. Then, the girl slowly raises her hand and points in a direction, hinting that she wants to show our boy something. She then began pulling our boy with her, but clearly, she isn't strong enough to actually drag Han Feng. Trying to understand her, our boy asks if she wants him to follow her, to which she nods. The door of a certain house in the apartment complex creaks open. It is noticeable that this particular house has a surveillance camera installed. We then see our boy bewildered and amazed at what he sees next. As it turns out, the mysterious wife who brought our boy to her home. It has a lot of heating systems. Han Feng swings his head left and right, asking if she has prepared all these by herself. Curious, our boy asks her if she already knew that the snowstorm would happen. This much preparation is really out of the ordinary if she didn't know that the ice apocalypse would occur. In response, the girl just gave him a simple nod. Then finally, she opens her mouth, stating that from her calculations, Ice Age would occur. Our boy was stunned. For a moment, he thought that she had also traveled back in time just like him. But it turns out that she just has really good calculations in predicting the future. She then tells our boy that she has already mentioned the probability of an Ice Age in the group chat. That's when our boy realized that she is the mysterious person that talked about the possibility of this current situation. Our boy is amazed by how awesome her calculations are, but he asks if she brought him to her home just to talk about it. Then, the ice-cold waifu points towards her computer screens, causing our boy to look at them. He then sees footage of him bringing supplies to his home. He was also captured purchasing a lot of propane tanks, which would be too excessive for a normal person if they didn't know that the apocalypse would come. There is also footage of him receiving the weapon that Brother Lai brought him. Alarmed, Han Feng immediately confronts the girl and asks if she has been monitoring him. Well, it is pretty evident that she is, but our boy just asks to pressure her to give answers. But as she turns his gaze towards the nonchalant waifu, he finds that the girl has already removed most of her clothes while still maintaining a blank expression on her face. With just her sleeping clothes on, she answers yes to our boy's question. However, Han Feng is no longer curious as to why she was monitoring him. Right now, he's more curious as to why this girl is stripping her clothes off. This weird waifu says that it's how, so she's removing her clothes. To be able to say it's hot during this ice apocalypse is something really unbelievable. It just shows how prepared the girl is for the crisis. Our boy swiftly tells her to stop undressing and put her pants back on. Despite how he is, Han Feng is not the kind of man to take advantage of an airhead girl. Moments later, we see the two sitting on a couch with an awkward atmosphere in the air, but it is mostly just Han Feng who's able to sense it, for the girl is busy with her laptop. As it turns out, this waifu got suspicious of our boy hoarding heaps of resources before the snowstorm even showed any signs of happening. That's why she started monitoring him. She also reveals that her main purpose of observing Han Feng is to see if there's a possibility for cooperation. While the girl is still busy on her laptop, Han Feng asks what cooperation she is trying to create. Then suddenly, she goes between Han Feng's legs, surprising our boy as well as I am. Her not being properly clothed only makes this worse and erotic. Understandably, our boy was frozen solid from shock. Regaining a little bit of his common sense, Han Feng flinches and asks the girl what she is doing. But the purple-haired waifu just kept on creeping in. As it turns out, she just took a box from the side of the couch and pulled it towards her. Well, that was a bit too suggestive just for taking something. She could have just stood up and got it, or asked our boy to pick it up for her. Anyway, the thing turned out to be a generator. She then stares at our boy with a plain expression on her face and asks him to teach her how to use a generator. Moments later, we see the generator up and running. It seems like the author has saved us from seeing our boy explain everything to this airhead girl. The two stared at it for a while. Then our boy asked the waifu if she understood it now. As usual, she just replied with a simple suggesting that she does, but somehow I doubt that. Then, she stares at our boy intently once again. Our boy chokes, realizing that there is something else she would like to ask. Han Feng then explains how the water heater works. He emphasizes that she needs to turn off the valve when she's done using it, and once again she just nods. Next, we move to her refrigerator. The boy scolds her for putting items inside without removing the packaging. As soon as he opens the fridge, everything inside tumbles out. He quickly urges the girl to help instead of just standing there like a statue. We then proceed to changing the propane tank for cooking. Han Feng reminds her to pay attention to safety when connecting the gas and to carefully observe the procedure he's about to demonstrate. It seems like our boy has to teach her everything, as the next scene shows Han Feng teaching the girl how to cook. He prepares the meal while she tends to the rice in the rice cooker. At this point, our boy has essentially become a full-fledged nanny. A few moments later, a variety of delicious meals are served on the table. Han Feng really does have a knack for cooking. Well, that's a bit expected since all he did ever since the apocalypse started was eat. Now that everything has been prepared, our boy invites the airhead to eat. She grabs a pair of chopsticks and waits for our boy to give her some food. Then, a moment of realization hits our boy. He slams the table, commenting that he just become a full-time nanny of a stranger. He remarks that the girl's ability to take care of herself is too poor. Even I am wondering how she survived until now. Unfortunately, our boy's complaints fell to deaf ears, for the girl is too busy eating that she didn't even pay attention to Han Feng's murmurs. Seeing how innocent she looks, our boy retracts his statement and says that he's just kidding. In a short amount of time, this stalker has officially become Han Feng's little sister, since he can't really do anything against the girl's nonchalant attitude. Han Feng just decides to eat his meal and relax his brain. Reaching his breaking point, he turns to the girl and tells her that once he's done eating, he will go back to his house. However, when his gaze shifts to her, our boy sees that she has already fallen asleep while eating. She hasn't even finished chewing the food in her mouth, yet she's already knocked out cold. Being the gentleman that he is, our boy carries her to the sofa and puts a blanket on her. Even though he complains a lot, it doesn't seem like our boy hates helping this airhead girl. Our boy wears his jacket and prepares to leave the house, commenting that it feels like he has a child now. The next day, someone kept ringing our boy's doorbell early in the morning. It's pretty evident that Han Feng just woke up from sleep as he yawns while opening the door. The visitor turns out to be the girl from yesterday, and she's bringing several boxes of industrial tapes as token of appreciation for our boy's help. Our boy was taken aback by how plentiful they are, and he doesn't really have much use for them. Even after our boy took some of the gifts into his room, the lady did not leave the premises and just stood there like a statue once again. Our boy immediately knew that she needs assistance again. She then reveals her power generator, asking Han Feng to teach her how to use it once more. Since he accepted the token of appreciation, our boy felt compelled to help her again. After a few days of interacting with the purple-haired waifu, our boy has confirmed that this girl who lives above her house is 100% an idiot. Even after days of teaching her basic things, she still fails to comprehend any of it. She always pretends that she got the instructions loud and clear only to repeat the same mistake the next time. However, our boy applauds the fact that even though she's hopeless, she still seems very interested in learning about self-reliance. She drags him to her house every day to teach her. This time, the waifu volunteered to do the cooking, and as expected the meal turned out burnt. Han Feng tries to be polite and encouraging, saying that her cooking skills have improved, even though it looks inedible as heck. He comments that even though the food is burned, many people will die just to eat it, given how scarce the food is nowadays. However, he states that if it's back to the normal times, even a dog wouldn't touch her cooking. After a few days of interacting with each other, our boy finally realized that he hadn't even asked for her name yet. The girl states that she is the true eye of the evil king, solidifying her character as a weirdo. Nonetheless, we will call her Weeb for now. Our boy cringes as he hears her answer, saying that he will just pretend that he didn't ask. While the two are having a peaceful time eating the burned meal, the other people in the complex are now fighting for whatever is left of their resources. Due to desperation and hunger, the people have already resorted to stealing and using violence. They no longer care from whom the supplies are, as long as they get some of it, they will take it. Chaos ensues in the basement of the apartment complex. People are fighting over the resources, battling over their claims divided by. It doesn't matter who the real owner is, the one left standing will be the one to take it all. As such, no one is hesitating to hurt the other. Blood drips all over the place, and some of it taints the clean white pants of a man who is watching over the war that's unfolding. It is none other than the sly man Jiang. He uses a microphone to startle everyone who are fighting, making them stop due to the loud screech of the noise. Now that everyone's attention is drawn towards him, he speaks to the microphone, asking if they have fought enough to vent out all their pent-up frustrations. While helping a fallen man get back up to his feet, he ridicules the people who are hurting each other for some scraps. He insists that going rogue over some measly supplies is laughable. Naturally, the angry mobs didn't take his provocation lightly. They explain that he was the one who suggested donating supplies for the needy, yet they only received small portions of the given goods. Because of that, they are on the verge of starving to death. Jiang simplifies the current situation, saying that because the resources distributed aren't enough and the donated resources have run out, they decided to fight over the remaining ones. He asks if he's correct. He then reiterates his previous claim, saying that he really thinks that line of thinking is just utterly ridiculous. He then states that if they are going that route, then they do deserve to starve to death. He then proceeds to urge the people to think carefully about who is the one that caused this situation onto them. Quickly, one of the people answers that Jiang's at fault. Seeing that the blame is shifting towards him, Jiang grabs a piece of bread on the floor and explains that originally, the bread was only a few dollars, but those with abundance of resources raised the price to tens or even hundreds of dollars. Those who hoarded supplies squeezed all of them dry. Now, a piece of bread was split into 5 or 10 pieces to auction. Those people managed to get rich using this disaster, while the rest of them not only used up all their money but are now having internal strife for the remaining supplies. He states how ridiculous it is, saying that the rich are the ones with plenty of supplies yet none of them donated to the needy. They even had the audacity to raise the prices with malice. He asks if that kind of situation is fair for the people. Then, after capturing the sympathy and emotions of the mass, this sly bastard declares that they should unite as one to get the resources that belong to them. The desperate people instantly bought Jiang's suggestion. thinking that it isn't fair for a few selected people to be living comfortably while they have to fight over some scraps. Because of the sly man's instigation, the angry mobs now have one goal in mind, that is to start a rebellion and take what they think is rightfully theirs. Amongst them is Brother Lai, who doesn't like where the situation is heading. He concluded that the people here have practically gone mad and something big is about to happen. Since he was tasked by our boy to report to him about the situation in the basement, Brother Lai quickly messaged Han Feng. He warns our boy that the people in the basement have now reached a consensus that they will go and snatch resources from the people who are hoarding them. He informs our boy that they are being led by the man named Jiang, who incited the owners to steal supplies from others. They now intend to go door to door on each homeowner, prying open their locks. Brother Lai warns Han Feng that these people are armed, so he suggests that our boy just hide if he can, and never try to confront them. Our boy was terrified upon receiving the news, so, after telling Brother Lai to be careful, he made sure to lock all his doors and close all windows. Even though Han Feng had experienced the apocalypse in his past life, he did not expect things to turn out like this. Although he bought 2 guns in case of a crisis, he knows that he won't be able to stand a chance against an organized operation. He won't be able to defend himself and his resources from the group of angry neighbors. With that in mind, our boy decides to prepare for the worst. He barricaded his door and put some traps in his room. While he is busy making his preparations, the electricity suddenly shuts off. Everyone panicked about the sudden power outage. They all tried contacting the management about it, but when they saw that the other apartment complex is also facing the same issue, they realized that it is a total outage. Our boy knew that this was bound to happen. With the snowstorm and the overload usage of power from people trying to keep themselves warm, this kind of scenario is inevitable. Moreover, the buildup of snow and low temperature outside made it impossible for any maintenance, which means that the power failure and signal loss this time might be permanent. As such, our boy started fueling up his generator. He will now start using them for electricity. Once the other owners realize that the power is never coming back, those feelings of panic will lead to an even more serious rebellion, and that is when the real hell will begin. Going back to 30 minutes ago, we see Yona ravenously eating some instant ramen. Her elegance from before the apocalypse happened is now long gone. She's now gobbling up all the noodles like a stray dog, not minding any stain going to her clothes. As it turns out, he is inside one of a wealthy man's house. This rich boy states that he mentioned in the group chat that he will buy all resources at 50 times the market price, boasting about his wealth. He then reveals that after buying all the supplies from the others, he would then resell it to them at an even higher price. So in the end, he made quite the profit. Yona doesn't really care about all his yapping and is just enjoying the meal that she's eating. This shameless woman no longer has any dignity left in her. The man then asks her if she feels she made the right choice by following him. In response, she makes a sweet smile, nodding to his question. The wealthy dude knows that he's just being used by this fox, but he doesn't really mind. He thinks that as long as he has resources, he will be able to do anything he wants with this girl. Suddenly, he hears a commotion happening outside his door. The people have already started opening the houses of the tenants, raiding them for their supplies. The wealthy man goes over his door to eavesdrop what's happening outside. He hears that some people are ratting on him for buying plenty of supplies from his neighbors and raising their prices when reselling. Then, they began kicking the man's door open, and this dude was knocked back by the force. Sweat immediately drips down his face, sensing the trouble that he's in. He peeps on his peephole and sees a bunch of angry mobs carrying weapons with them. The scene switches back to our hero, Han Feng, who is now working as fast as he can to prepare for this unexpected scenario. He's currently at his door, working on some contraption to prevent his hungry neighbors from forcing their way in. It seems like he's putting some kind of trap on his door handle, but his device isn't working properly, making him wonder if the power is insufficient. Suddenly, the thing explodes right in front of his face, making our boy flinch. He may have prepared everything he needed during the apocalypse, but one can't be an electrician in just a short amount of time. As he fans away the fire from the wires, he wonders why it's so difficult to create the contraption. Our boy laments the fact that the internet isn't available anymore. It would have been easy if he could just search it on YouTube. Suddenly, someone knocks on his door, surprising our boy. He immediately gets alarmed, thinking that the unwanted visitors have arrived. He carefully peeks through the peephole, checking who the person could be. The visitor is too short to be seen completely, and all our boy could see is her hair sticking out. Han Feng immediately knew who this troublesome person is, so he asks her what she wants. The true eye of the evil king, this weeb moves back so that Han Feng could see her and meekly asks for help, again. Our boy sighs, thinking how troublesome this little girl is. He's currently busy so he has no time to assist her, but our boy finds himself slowly opening the door. I guess he can't resist this adorable airhead waifu. However, before he could even turn the knob completely, he remembers the betrayal he suffered in his past life. Last time he opened his door for a chick, he was killed immediately. With that thought in mind, our boy shakes and backs away from the door. The trauma that the past incident brought him was too great. However, he doesn't want to leave the adorable weeb waiting for nothing, so he states that he received some information that some of the owners are breaking down doors and robbing resources, so he advises the girl to return home, because he won't be opening his door for her. The weeb was a bit stunned after getting rejected by our hero. She stares at the door for a while, processing Han Feng's words. From her breath, it's evident how cold it is outside. However, she's not giving up. She knocks on our boy's door once again, hoping that he will open it. Despite her desperation though, she didn't yell for Han Feng to open the door. Unfortunately, after declining, Han Feng no longer responded to the poor girl. It would seem like she really needs help this time, because even after being ignored, she sat outside Han Feng's doorstep for a while. Even though it's pretty evident that the cold is getting to her, she didn't leave. Instead, she tucks herself and blows her hand, desperately trying to stay warm. Then, the voices of the hungry neighbors are heard. They're making quick work of opening other people's door so that their competition wouldn't beat them to it. The voices are getting closer and closer, and it would seem that this weeb is in big trouble. A helpless little girl being alone outside in this harsh crisis would be the perfect target for those assholes. However, when they reach the hallway where our boy's house is, the girl is nowhere to be found. The leader of the bums assigned his men to their respective doors. The old man asks his lackey for a crowbar as he prepares to pry Han Feng's door open. As it turns out, our boy wasn't able to resist the helpless weeb and took her inside. He covers her mouth and hugs her tightly to prevent her from making any noise. To be honest though, I think that's unnecessary because Miss Weeb doesn't really talk much except when she's saying the word help. The vile men started banging Han Feng's door, using all their power to pry it open. Our boy braced himself, pushing himself against the door while holding Miss Weifu tightly. Han Feng whispers to her ear, saying that there's no need to be afraid since he has reinforced the door, reassuring the weeb. However, it seems like his concern is unnecessary since the true eye of the evil king didn't even flinch no matter how loud the banging is. The men tried to repeatedly turn the knob and pry the door open, but it isn't even budging. At this point, the old man is getting furious, wondering why this house is so hard to break open. His companion then tells him to leave this house for now and move on to the next one, so the old man tells him to put a mark on our boy's door. Finally, Han Feng was able to breathe a sigh of relief. He thanks his past self for deciding to reinforce the door before the apocalypse happened. Then, he remembers that he's still embracing Miss Weeb, so he lets go and apologizes for his action. It seems like she had a hard time breathing with our boy clinging to her tightly because she just breathes a huge chunk of air after Han Feng released her. Nonetheless, she didn't forget to express her gratitude toward him. Just to make sure, Han Feng puts his ear on the door, listening if the men are still near his house. After confirming it, he goes back to where he left off. He picks up the wire and resumes with his contraption, commenting that once he's done fixing the thing, he will electrocute those bastards as soon as they touch his doorknob. Confused, Miss Weeb asks him what he's doing, and our boy answers that he's making an electrocution defense measure. However, despite his attempts, it doesn't seem like Han Feng is able to make it work. So, he takes his frustration on the girl, saying that she wouldn't understand it even if he explains it, since he himself doesn't really get why it's not working. Contrary to his assumption, it seems like the lady is well informed about this kind of thing. She states that an anti-theft device that uses electricity and voltage differences is easy to install. Our boy was surprised upon hearing this, so he quickly turns around and asks if she knows how to do it. As it turns out, this airhead isn't useless at all. She instructs our boy on what to do step by step. She tells him to cut off the power supply, wrap the wire from the cable around the door, and all those electrical stuffs I don't really get. After a while, she tells him the finishing touches which we wouldn't get into detail, and what do you know? The thing works like magic. Han Feng was so surprised to learn that Miss Weeb over here is knowledgeable about this kind of stuff. In response, she says that the true eye of the evil king possesses the ability to see the truth of everything in this world. Okay, she's really letting it get into her head. Han Feng pretended that he didn't hear anything and just went back to the main issue at hand. He asks what she wants, reminding her that he's busy. However, the weeb isn't even listening to him. Instead, she starts dropping off all of her things on the floor. Han Feng reiterates his question, asking what she wants. In response, she states that the true eye of the evil king will be staying here. Of course, our boy was absolutely baffled upon hearing this. He thought that she just needed some help with her generator like before or something. Never would he imagine that she will be staying in his house. Naturally, Han Feng disagrees with the idea, telling her that it ain't happening and that she should go back to her own house immediately. Our boy tries to walk towards her to send her off, but he trips on the wire he was holding and falls to the floor. I guess Han Feng has his clumsy side as well. He crashes to the floor, and all the things he was carrying flew into the air, making a mess in his room. He grumbles that it hurts out of instinct, but when he comes to it, he notices that he was not in any sort of pain. Also, his hands started to glow with purple light, which is a new thing for our boy. So far, Han Feng was only aware of the green and red light. A weird thing also happened on his coffee table. It has turned soft, almost as if it was transformed into a blanket. Han Feng notices that light in his hand and wonders if it was due to it that his coffee table turned soft. As he looks around, he sees that the toolbox turns soft as well along with the metal tools inside. He wiggles the former metal hammer around and concludes that his newfound power, the purple light, causes items to turn soft. As his gaze shifts up, he sees the weeb staring blankly at him. Sweat immediately covered our boy's face. He forgot that she was even here, and now she has seen Han Feng's supernatural power. The girl just stared at him without uttering a single word, while our boy is sweating his brain off, thinking of ways how to get away in this situation. Finally, she opens her mouth to talk. Fortunately, this girl is already weird to begin with, so instead of being suspicious of our boy, she asks, with a bright smile on her face, if he's also an emissary chosen by the evil king. Seeing the perfect opportunity to get away with it, Han Feng seizes the chance and plays along with her. He makes a weird pose and states that he is indeed also a subordinate chosen by the boss evil king. That's why unusual phenomena sometimes happen around him. Then, the weeb puts her hand up, as if signaling our boy to stop talking, and so Han Feng does. Confused, our boy stared at her, wondering what she was up to. With a bright smile on her face, she says that as a fellow emissary, they should help each other, and with that being said, she will be staying in his humble abode. Han Feng sighs, commenting how can a girl stay with a man she barely knows, but before he could even finish his sentence, Miss Weeb has already sprinted off and made herself comfortable. She locks herself in one of Han Feng's rooms, taking our boy by surprise. He tries to dissuade her, but nothing is ever getting through her ears. Left with no choice, our boy decides to just leave her be. For now, he's more concerned with his newfound power. He contemplates what are the possible uses for the purple light and if can really make anything soft. He realizes that he has more power lights in him, he just hasn't discovered all of them yet. He sits for a while, thinking about what activated the purple light. As far as he knows, he just tripped over the cable and almost crashed into the table, activating his power. He tries to recall the feeling he felt as he fell. He knows that the secret to its activation lies in it. He focuses intently, and as expected, the purple light turns on once again. He then notices that the light also affects even the cables which aren't really that hard. Curious, he went to the kitchen to test his power on different items. Now, he's holding a knife, curious if it would make it soft as well. Unsurprisingly, the knife turned into something like a jelly. I don't really know why, but our boy is surprised that his power works on steel as well, even though he saw that hammer turn soft earlier. He tried to use the soft knife to cut himself, but it only wrapped around his arm, and the sensation of it really felt like jelly. Despite confirming its effects, our boy still tried it on other materials. He transformed paper cups, stainless spoons, ceramic plates, and other objects. He learns that the longer he uses the purple light on things, the softer they become, but other than that effect, there's no changes. As he wiggles the soft utensil on his hand, he thinks that this new power is pretty much useless. Then, something comes to his mind. What if he combines two different kinds of light into one object? As such, he activates his purple light along with his green light. He tests it out on the soft knife. He takes a fighting stance, puts the blade in front of him and shouts Bankai. He only needs to color his hair orange, and he will look like Ichigo from Bleach. Unexpectedly, his Bankai works. The metal blade, which was previously soft, turns back hard once again. Our boy is stunned after learning this. He stares at it with a dumb expression on his face, shocked by this new discovery. He then sees a tissue paper on the table, and something crazy pops up to his mind. Later on, we see our boy trying to bend the tissue paper. It seems like he used both the purple light and the green light to make it harder. He then concludes that when he uses two different kinds of lights on an object, he's able to change its toughness. Moreover, the toughness is a bit too extreme. The tissue paper, which should be easy to rip, feels like metal now that he imbued it with his power. Then, something about toughness reminds him of a thing he needs to do. The scene switches to the thieving bastards. As they walk down the stairs, they have a conversation about handing out some of the supplies they stole to the people in need, but they ultimately conclude that it isn't enough for them, so they'll just keep it to themselves. One man states that if they start handing out a few of the goods they stole, all the elderly and other starving weaklings will beg for more. His companion then states that they should keep this a secret from the others, else they are screwed. Suddenly, the black-haired dude points to the wall, telling his friend to look behind him. As he turns around, they notice that the wall is wriggling, as if it's turning soft. Then, a face slowly emerges from the wall. It comes face to face with the man, spooking him lifeless. The wall continues to expand until it forms the shape of a real ghost. The two men are stunned at what they are witnessing. After a few moments, the supernatural occurrence finally sank into their brains, and they both scream ghost while fleeing like a coward. Then, the ghost complains that he can't breathe as he wiggles around. As it turns out, it was just our boy. Using his power, he made the wall soft and stuck his face into it. He uses his power to the maximum, covering the entire wall with green and purple light. He complains how strenuous it is to use on a wall. After a while, an explosion occurs from the two lights combining. The result is a shiny brand new wall reinforced with Han Feng's power. He pans to catch his breath. Next up would be testing the wall's durability. He takes a sledgehammer and positions himself in front of the wall, eager to check the result of the hardening. He smashes the hammer into it with all his might, curious if it will damage it. It would have been funny if he destroyed the wall accidentally, exposing him to the looters. The storm kept getting worse, and the temperature doesn't seem to be rising anytime soon. After a while, we see our boy give up. It seems like his hardening of the wall was successful, too successful even. He comments that he can't even scrap the surface of the wall. Meanwhile, inside the basement, people are still gathered, trying to figure out how to survive this icy ordeal. It seems like the looters are very organized and are really working as a group. After looting the neighborhood, they will go back to the basement and report their loots. One of the looters states that he was only able to get a few from their neighbors. The man thinks that he's all good after giving his report and loots, but suddenly a hand touches his shoulder. He was then pinned to the ground. It seems like they sense that the man is lying about his loot, so they apprehended him. As we continue, we get to see how one of the Bonnet twins apprehend the dude reporting for his loot. He angrily asks the man about the whereabouts of the other loots he gained, but the dude states that he already gave everything he stole from their neighbors. However, the Jin brother is not buying the man's lies. He tells him to stop feigning ignorance, stating that they clearly saw him carrying 3 big bags earlier, yet he only handed 1 bag. The man is not backing down either. Despite his arm almost in breaking point, he firmly states that he already handed everything he has. Getting frustrated by the old man's BS, Jin decides to resort to violence and raises his fist. He remarks that if the man won't cooperate honestly, then he will beat the truth out of his mouth. But before he could even hit the old man, Zhang, the self-righteous 4 eyes dude, stops him. Jin was taken aback by Zhang's sudden interference, asking what he is doing. 4 eyes Kami tells Jin to let the old man go, stating that he would like to talk to him first and figure out if there's a problem before resorting to such drastic means. However, the kid states that the old man has indeed hid some of the loots from the group, so he has to exact punishment. Zhang claims that he already knows that the man is lying, but he urges Jin to leave the matter to him. He speaks to the kid with much sincerity that the young man had no choice but to obediently step back. He lets go of the old man's arm, telling him that he's only letting this slide out of respect for Mr. Jiang, but if it was any other person, he would definitely smash the old dude. Jiang then extends his arm to the suspect, shocking the old man. He asks if the man is alright, saying it with a gentle expression on his face, although we all know that he's just putting a facade. The man knows that he is guilty of the accusation being thrown at him, yet Jiang is still willing to hear his side. This moved the heart of the old man, so, in the next panel, we see the remaining 2 bags being handed over to the organization. The man apologizes to Jiang, claiming that he only hid the supplies from them because he was thinking about his family. He explains that there are 4 more mouths to feed in their household, so the distributed food isn't really enough to keep their hunger in check. After hearing this, Jiang hands the man a box of food, saying that he will give his today's share to him. The old man is absolutely taken aback by Jiang's action. He didn't expect that Jiang would sacrifice his share for him. Jiang tells him that the rules of their organization is absolute, and everyone must hand over all the collected loots to distribution. But he can't say that he doesn't understand what the man is going through right now. The old man is touched by 4 eyes' generosity. Tears began building up in his eyes as he stares at the box of biscuits that Jiang gave him. While trembling, he thanks Jiang from the bottom of his heart. The old man introduces himself as Lao Wang and states that if Jiang ever needs anything from him, he will always be at his service. After concluding the agenda with Lao Wang, Jiang shifts his attention towards the others who are waiting for their shares. He tells them to quickly go back home after receiving their ends. With that little stunt, the people's trust to 4 eyes grew even more. The Jin brothers then approach Jiang, asking how he managed to make the old man confess his crime and make him reveal the supplies that he hid. They are also confused as to why 4 eyes gave his share to the man. In response, Jiang states that he didn't actually help the man at all. He just made him understand a certain principle that he believes in. This made the twin curious about what principle he is talking about. This smooth talker then proceeds to tell them a story about a certain country where multiple riots often occur. He states that it is all because of the clashes of benefits between social classes. However, the nature of these riots has been defined as a social collective behavior. As long as you are not arrested on the spot, the participants will not be convicted. So, Jiang claims that all he did was inform Lao Wang that if he breaks the rules, the collective will no longer accommodate him, then he will become nothing but a robbing criminal. He goes on saying that it isn't important to talk about whether Lao Wang will be dealt with by the laws after the disaster is over. Even before that, he will have to face the revenge of the owners that he stole from. Everyone who is listening to the 4 eyes are amazed by his leadership. Their trust towards his wisdom grew even more. On the sideline, an old man observed everything that has unfolded. After eavesdropping to the conversation, he thinks that within every group of rioters, there's always a leader that's leading the people's action. He states that heroes will always emerge in troubled times, and this time, Jiang is the one who filled that shoe. The old man thinks that Jiang is no simple man. The scene then shifts to where we see a hammer hitting a window forcefully, and yet, the glass didn't break, nor did it get scratched. The person swinging the hammer is none other than our hero, Han Feng. From the looks of it, he's exhausted from using his newfound power because he's shaking while catching his breath as he holds the hammer. As it turns out, he reinforced every inch of his home with the purple light he has just unlocked. He also made sure to test them all out if they will break, hence him swinging the hammer to the window. Suddenly, his doorbell rings, catching our boy's attention. He wonders if the person outside are the people who are stealing resources from every house owner. He slowly peeks through the peephole, asking who the visitor is. To his surprise, the visitor is none other than the shameless woman, Yona. She's shaking from the cold, and with tears in her eyes, she knocks on our boy's door. She claims that she has thought over Han Feng's feelings for her for the past few days and realized that our boy is really special for her, stating that Han Feng has invested in her unconditionally. She tells Han Feng to open the door if he finds it hard to believe her words. Our boy then gets flashbacks of what happened before he was killed in his past life. He recalls that Yona's statement today is the exact same words that he heard before he was betrayed. This would only mean that outside his door, his former killer is also with the treacherous woman as well. Han Feng could only think of one word right now. Finally, he thinks that the day of his revenge has come. He goes back to his living room to get his gun. However, he realizes that there is no electricity outside right now and his enemy is hidden in the dark. If he's not able to kill the man in an instant, the table might turn against him. He looks at the electric trap that he has installed on the door and thinks that it would be impossible to get the two to touch the doorknob at the same time. Moreover, he has no idea at all about the effects of the electric shock, if it's really strong enough to subdue them. Our boy is experiencing mixed emotions right now, just a little more as he's about to panic. So, Han Feng tells himself to calm down. The moment that he has been waiting for has come, so he better not lose this change. He closes his eyes to assess the situation and concludes that the one with the most threat right now is not Yona, but the man who is hiding in the dark. Our boy must instantly locate his position and give him a fatal blow as soon as he steps outside. But Han Feng wonders if there's a way to locate the man while staying inside. It is then that he realizes the most probably hiding spot of the man, which would be the blind spot right beside his door. So, he touches the wall where the door will be opening against, and activates his purple light power. While our hero is preparing for his attack, Yona is still calling for him, asking him to open the door. At this point, the killer is getting impatient, so he asks Yona if Han Feng is really worth all the trouble. Yona states she is sure that our boy still has some resources left. Moreover, she recalls that Han Feng bought a truck full of supplies a day before the snow started. Hearing this, the man is convinced that our boy will be able to feed them for a couple of days. Unbeknownst to him, the wall right behind him is starting to get soft because of Han Feng's power. The head of the sledgehammer starts to protrude from the wall. The man then asks Yona if she's hearing some kind of noise pertaining to the wall turning soft, but they have no idea that it was because of it. As the man turns around to check, he was knocked out cold by our boy, sending him crashing into the ground. Naturally, the witch was taken aback by what just happened. Due to the fact that the hallway has no lights, she didn't see that her partner got hit by something. Yona urges the man to stop playing and get up, commenting that he is starting to scare her. Unfortunately for her, the bastard is already on a one-way ticket to Dreamland, and he won't be waking up anytime soon. Han Feng's door then slowly opens up, and Hyona's expression brightens up a bit, preparing to face our boy with his usual seducing skills. Too bad for her though. The Han Feng she sees has a murderous expression on his face and he is holding a fire extinguisher on his hands while aiming at her. Without any warning, our boy started spraying the witch with the fire extinguisher. Our boy relentlessly sprayed Yona with his white stuff, suffocating the girl. She begs him to stop, but Han Feng did not. She coughs and wheezes, desperately trying to catch her breath. Yona then notices her partner in crime, shaking from the trauma. He lost several teeth, and his face is all messed up. Han Feng really hit him good despite not being able to see him through the wall properly. The crazy witch is now terrified more than ever. It's dark, and she has no idea what exactly is going on. Suddenly, a hand emerges from the fumes of the fire extinguisher, trying to grab Yona. Han Feng was able to grab hold of the woman's hair and scarf, but Yona was moved quickly and was able to break free. She swiftly stood back up and runs away, escaping our boy while screaming for help. Han Feng clicks his tongue, lamenting for letting the treacherous fox escape. On the other hand, Yona's companion quivers from the pain he is feeling. He groans and moans as he tries to stand up. Han Feng shifts his attention to the man. Suddenly, he delivers a devastating kick to the stomach, asking the guy who gave him permission to get up. The man kneels on the ground, begging our boy to stop his assault while coughing. However, Han Feng's face is filled with rage right now, and it doesn't seem like he will listen to reasons. Yona's boyfriend threatens our boy, asking if he even knows his dad. He says that if Han Feng dares lay a finger on him once more, his family will not let it slide and Han Feng will not escape unscathed. But of course, our boy will not back down from these threats. If he isn't aware that the global snow crisis won't stop anytime soon, he might have been scared and let the guy go. Unfortunately for the man, Han Feng knows that the global temperature will just get worse and they won't be returning to their old lives anytime soon, so he delivers a knee to the chin to the man, saying that he doesn't care whose his daddy is. Realizing that Han Feng won't be threatened by his family name, the man lowers his pride and calls him brother, asking our boy to hold on for a minute, begging for mercy. He tries to play it cool, saying that he and Han Feng has no beef with each other. Dude, you were literally holding a baseball bat spiked with nails just moments ago. Pissed by the man's words, our boy punches him in the face, saying that's exactly what he wanted to know. He has no beef with this person, yet he killed him in the past. Han Feng released all his pent-up frustration and harbored anger to his killer. He relentlessly beat up the guy, while asking why he wanted to kill Han Feng, who was only minding his own business. At this point, the man has already lost the energy to resist, and our boy notices it. His pretty face is now beyond recognizable, and he can't even talk anymore. Despite that, Han Feng's anger is not yet satiated. Our boy firmly believes in the saying that an eye for an eye. As such, he picks up the weapon that the man brought to use to our hero. He slowly walks towards the lying man. With tears falling down his eyes, he asks Han Feng to give him a reason why is he being this cruel and merciless to him. This dude is really trying to play the victim right now. Him and Yona really suits each other. His statement just made our boy even more furious. He knows for a fact that if he didn't beat them to the punch, him and Yona would not hesitate eliminating Han Feng just for some pack of noodles. With that in mind, our boy steals his resolve and ends the man's life with a home run to the head. Blood splattered on the ground, and our boy catches his breath. After regaining his composure, the sight of the man he just killed made him nauseous. Even though Han Feng could be a dick sometimes, our boy is not really a killer. But with this, he finally crossed the line, even if it was for revenge. He vomits on the ground, not able to stomach the atrocious act he just did. Now that his anger has dissipated, he realizes that he really just took another human being's life. Not only that, but he did it by squashing a man's head. Suddenly, a cough is heard behind our boy. It was so deliberate as if it was trying to catch Han Feng's attention. Our boy looks back, and with tears in his eyes, he sees the true eye of the evil king, or the purple-haired waifu sitting in his doorsteps, playing with the oozing blood. He stares at our boy with a blank expression on her face and asks if he needs a hand. The way she casually asked Han Feng if he needs help with disposing a real human body is kind of terrifying. Moments later, the two went back inside Han Feng's house. Our boy is staring at the girl while she's busy drinking some soda. In our boy's mind, he thinks that there is something off about this waifu. She didn't even flinch after witnessing the gruesome scene earlier, making him think that there's something off about her, and that it's better not to let her stay in his place. Han Feng tries to come up for some reason for her not to find his place appealing anymore. He states that the man's comrades might attack the place now that he killed him, so he suggests for the girl to leave in order not to get caught in the crossfire. Unbothered, the weirdo just replies with a simple "oh," as if getting attacked by their angry neighbors is not a big deal. Desperate, our boy asks if her word means yes, claiming that he is only doing this for the waifu's own good. However, the weirdo insists of staying in his place. She already made herself too comfortable and won't leave this safe place due to some minor inconveniences. Han Feng tries to argue one more time. He throws a sound argument, saying that the situation is really dangerous for them and that they can both die. Having heard enough, the purple-haired waifu slams her glass on the table and tells our boy not to worry because the true eye of the evil king will protect him. With that said, she claims that all these talk about safety made her sleepy, so she says her regards to our boy and proceeds to go to her room. However, before she could even step inside her room, Han Feng grabs her arm and tells her not to underestimate the situation. He states that it is really serious and that he has no time to ride along with her edge nonsense. She then notices Han Feng's hand trembling and realizes that our boy might actually be scared. With that, she becomes a bit more serious and gazes Han Feng in the eyes, telling him to speak his mind. However, she only made our boy even more confused. Then, when she opens the door of her room, something inside shocks our hero. His eyes widen from disbelief, and his jaw almost hit the floor. Meanwhile, the scene shifts inside the basement where the group of thieves are banded together once more, waiting for the distribution of the stolen supplies. We see Yona in line as well. I guess nothing can stop this crazy witch's dedication when it comes to food. She just lost her partner earlier to our boy, yet she's already waiting for rations like nothing even happened. As she reaches the counter, she declares her name and apartment number. The persons in charge took note of it and gave her a sandwich. While walking back, Yona frowns her eyebrows while looking at the bread. As she takes a bite, she finally thinks about her partner in crime and wonders why he hasn't returned yet. She ponders if Han Feng has really set up a trap in advance, because the man just fell to the ground all of a sudden. However, the thing that really stuck in Hyona's mind is what she saw when our boy opened his door. She saw lights flickering inside, and she felt a nice warm breeze as the door opened, hinting that Han Feng has some kind of power source that he is using. She wonders if our boy has really made ample preparations for this ice catastrophe. While stuffing his mouth with the bread, she curses at our hero, saying that he didn't even tell her about the fact that he's living decently despite the current crisis. She makes up her mind, thinking that she needs to find a way to look inside Han Feng's place. As she walks, she becomes too engrossed of her thoughts that she was not able to pay attention to her surrounding and she actually bumped with a man's shoulder. The old man turns around and tells the woman to stop, catching her attention. As she turns around, the man points a flashlight at her and asks if she's really the famous Yona. As we continue, we see the witch Yona all ragged up and dirty after narrowly escaping our boy. She goes to the basement where all of the scumbags gather and she is met with a man telling her to warm herself up with him. After the mess she has gone through, Yona isn't in the mood to keep her good girl act up. She flat out rejected the man, telling him that she can warm herself up at home. However, this sleazebag seems to can't take a hint. He grabs her arm forcefully and tries to convince her to come to his house, saying that he can share a bit of his resources with her. In a pathetic attempt to woo her, he leans closer and creepily states that he has always liked girls with Hyona's style. It's very evident that Hyona doesn't appreciate him being pushy, so she clicks her tongue. She then lashes out and pushes the man away, telling him to get lost and that she doesn't care about the feelings of a trash like him, embarrassing him to all the people around, not that he didn't deserve it. Realizing that his low-tier riz is not working, the douchebag had enough. He forcefully grabs Hyona's arm once again, telling her to drop the good girl act as he already knows that she's been stealing resources. He threatens her that he will expose her if she doesn't do what she's told. The people around them overhear their conversation and immediately get interested. Falsely claiming resources is a big issue, especially to these rotten thieves. They are now starting to get suspicious to Hyona. As the tension builds up, the witch loses it and smashes her snack to the sleazebag's face, ordering him to let go. The man was stunned by Hyona's action, and he stares at her with bloodshot eyes. He pulls out a taser and tries to electrocute the woman, calling her a slut. Fear engulfs Hyona's eyes as she helplessly stares at the man. But before the bastard could actually harm her, a hand comes flying straight to his face, followed by a loud shout, saying not to bully girls. The bastard flies across the parking space from the force of the slap and he crashes into the wall. Everyone was stunned by the sudden development of the situation. More and more people are starting to become curious about the commotion. When they saw the bastard recuperating from the strike, they quickly panic and went to call the attention of their leader, Mr. Jong. The one who sent the bastard flying is none other than the adorable Nurse Jin. She quickly asks Hyona if she's alright, showing concern for her well-being. She offers to treat her injury, but Hyona says that she's fine and thanks the nurse. Nurse Jin then hands Hyona her calling card, saying that she can call her whenever she needs medical attention. However, Hyona respectfully declines her kind gesture, saying that she can manage on her own. It seems like the witch is avoiding association from anyone. Then, the bastard from earlier regains consciousness and calls Nurse Jin a stinking whore. He pins her to the ground, ready to assault her as retaliation for the powerful slap. He grabs her collar, asking how dare she meddle in other people's business. He raises his fist in an attempt to punish Nurse Jin, but before he could land the punch, an unknown blonde hero arrives at the scene. He pulls the bastard away from the nurse and throws him to the ground, making a super cool entrance. This person is none other than our favorite con artist, Brother Lai. He remarks that throughout his entire life, a man who hits a woman is the thing he discussed the most. As the situation is getting heated, Jong enters the scene. With his appearance, everyone started to feel at ease, knowing that the situation will now be under the man's control. They put too much trust on this cunning fox. The bastard immediately gets up and tells Jong that Hyona is falsely claiming resources to get ahead of the others. He states that he personally seen her hanging out with the rich kid the other day who sells overpriced goods. Hyona fumbles on her words, saying that she did not do such a thing. Brother Lai gets pissed once again at the bastard, saying that an ass like him who hits a woman has no credibility to spout such accusations. He was about to give him another beating, but someone gets to the bastard first. It was Jong. He grabs the man's collar and pulls him to give a scolding. He stares right into the man's soul and lectures him that the owner's committee is created to protect the weak and making sure that everyone has something to eat. Seeing their revered leader angry, the bastard apologizes for his action. Jong lets go of him and gives him a warning, saying that the next time something like this happens, he will be removed from the group. Mr. Goody Two Shoes then goes to Nurse Jin, commenting that she must have been startled. He then asks Brother Lai and Nurse Jin if they would like to reconsider their decisions from before. Brother Lai turns around and states that he is not interested in gathering as a crowd to rob others, making it clear that he will never join the organization even if he starves to death. It seems like the two were invited to the group, but they declined. Nurse Jin also states that she will be standing on her decision from before, saying that such a method of stealing supplies doesn't sit well with her. However, she offers help whenever someone needs medical attention. As Nurse Jin leaves, Hyona approaches Jong, asking if she could join their group. Jong turns around, wearing a confused expression on his face. The sly fox clings to Jong and tries to butter him up. She states that she has admired Four Eyes for a while now, but she never had the chance to tell him. This witch is now trying to gain privilege by seducing the group leader. Unfortunately for her, this chat of a villain won't fall for it. He pushes Hyona away and asks if she's confused about something. He states that he invited Brother Lai because he can fight, while for Nurse Jin, she's able to treat the injured. He then bluntly tells Yona off, saying that the organization finds her of no value right now, so she ain't worth roping in, serves her right. Yona wears a bitter expression on her face and starts to think of ways to get into the group. Then, she shouts for Jiang's attention once more. As the man turns around, Yona claims that she knows a place where they can get plenty of resources. The scene then switches back to our boy's house. It seems like him and airhead waifu are discussing about something. As it turns out, Han Feng isn't the only one who has supernatural power in this world. The Eye of the Evil King has the spatial ability that lets her store objects in a different space, and she's currently pulling something out from it. However, the thing she pulled is not the object they are looking for. It's a useless mannequin for displaying clothes. Han Feng scolds the girl, saying that it's far from the thing they are looking for. Our boy sighs as he assesses the waifu's ability. To put it simply, she has a dimensional storage ability. She can open up a black hole in front of her chest, and then suck in everything that she's seeing. However, storing items is the easy part. The problem is getting them out. The short waifu has a very low accuracy in finding things in her dimensional storage. Our boy is getting more and more curious about the inside of the dimensional storage. He wonders why the girl is having trouble looking for the items she needs from it. She explains that she hasn't took a peek inside the space, but she's certain that it's a vast space. Han Feng then asks if he can put his head inside it and search for the thing that they need, to which the waifu allows. And so, our boy sticks his head into the portal. He looks very weird with his head missing. Our boy's upper body manages to get inside the portal. He made sure that he leaves the lower half into the real world so that he wouldn't be stuck in the storage. Just like what the weeb said, the inside of the portal is a massive space filled with a variety of objects floating around. Even our boy is surprised by how vast it is. It's really confirmed now. This girl was the culprit behind the emptying of the supermarket in the East region in just one night. However, our boy realizes that they are basically searching for a needle in a haystack at this point. Then, Han Feng senses something wrong. He begins gasping for air, and his eyes are about to pop out of their sockets. He quickly pulls himself out of the space and desperately tries to catch his breath. Our boy then confronts the airhead, asking why she didn't tell him that there was no oxygen inside the storage. He describes the sensation as if all the moisture in his body is being sucked dry. The weeb states she didn't really know that it would be the case since she never tried entering the dimensional storage. After some bickering, she finally finds the thing that they are searching for. She pulls out a container out of the storage with ease. Han Feng is delighted that they are able to procure the thing that they want, and he immediately forgets that he almost died a few seconds ago. The airhead then states that she also found other things, and began pulling out multiple boxes from the storage, shocking our boy. Meanwhile, in the dark and cold staircase of the complex, several people are making their way up to our boy's floor, and they are now on the 18th floor. One of them comments that the 18th floor feels really weird. He asks the others if they would really continue going there. His companion clenches the axe that he's holding very tightly, wanting assurance that they won't encounter the monster they saw before. The leader of the crew mocks him for being scaredy cats. He states that it's already the 21st century. They shouldn't be believing in such supernatural beings. He remarks that Mr. Jiang is counting on them to scout the place, so they cannot let their respected leader down. The two then protest that Yona might be lying about the resources, but that's just an excuse that they give to not continue going up. Boy, Han Feng really left a trauma on them. As they argue with each other, someone is monitoring them with a surveillance camera. It's Han Feng and his waifu. They comment that the idiots really came back. Luckily, they are able to set up a monitoring system in advance. Han Feng then orders the girl to activate plan number 2 while he will go and light the fire. The waifu can begin with the operation when he returns. In response, the weeb nods in affirmation. As he walks away, our boy pulls out his stopwatch and comments that he needs to time it precisely. While they are preparing for their countermeasure, the invaders continue their advance. The leader hears something from above, so he asks the two if they also did. The two idiots immediately shudder, thinking that it's the ghost that they have encountered from before. Suddenly, multiple lights shine from the hallway, and it seems that they are coming closer and closer to the group. Then, multiple remote control cars began charging towards them, leaving the invaders confused. As the toy cars approaches the enemies, the explosives attached to them explode, creating chaos and loud noises in the dark and silent staircase. Red smoke began to scatter from the explosion. As it turns out, the smoke is mixed with lime, causing irritation to the invaders' eyes. After that, a drone comes flying towards them with another explosive in tow. The gang starts to panic and rushes down the stairs. They know that the drone is bad news, and they don't want to suffer from another explosion. As the drone gets closer to the bad guys, the waifu asks our boy if she's to throw the package now, but Han Feng tells her to hold it a bit longer, stating that he wants her to throw it once they get close enough. Our boy wants to teach these bastards a lesson they will never forget. But as the drone gets too close to the leader, the man turns around and swings his crowbar to the machine, trying to take it down. Han Feng tells the waifu not to let him destroy the drone. The man continues to swing his weapon and was able to chip a bit off of one of the drone's propellers. Without changing her expression, the girl informs our boy that she lost control of the left side of the machine and is unable to stabilize it. Han Feng becomes unreasonable and tells her to control it for it's their one and only drone. While the toy is flying out of control, the timer ticks to 3 seconds left. The drone crashed through the window and was sent outside the complex. And when the timer ticks to 0, beautiful fireworks display shoots to the sky. It turns out that our boy has attached fireworks to the drone and wanted to drop it on the assailants. The explosion damaged the drone's right propeller, making it even more difficult for the waifu to control it. She states that they can no longer anything and that the drone will be going down. Our boy tells her to try and land it somewhere safe, emphasizing that they cannot afford to break it. Being the professional that she is, the true eye of the evil king manages to barely land the drone in a safe spot outside the window of a certain floor. Han Feng stands up and states that he will go fetch it. He states that the drone is too important to lose. He wears his thick jacket and prepares to leave the room. However, before he can take a step away, the waifu informs him that there is a corpse between the stairs. Naturally, Han Feng became curious and confused as to what the airhead is talking about, so he takes a quick look at the screen and orders the girl to zoom the camera in. As the camera focuses on the so-called corpse, our boy realizes that it is none other than Brother Lai, and judging from his current states, it's not really an exaggeration to mistake him for a corpse. He has become thin, and the color of his lips has faded. Our boy takes a sit, trying to figure out what happened to Brother Lai. He wonders if he got attacked and robbed by the organization as well. Han Feng then takes something out from his safe and tells the waifu that he will be back soon. He reminds her that he has a key to the house, so she shouldn't open the door for anyone no matter what. While our boy is taking the necessary things that he will bring along, the waifu approaches him and gives him a walkie-talkie, saying that it is important for them to maintain communication. Han Feng thanks her for the concern and takes the radio. As he prepares to head out, he loads his pistol up, but he's hoping that he won't need to use it. As we continue, Han Feng heads out to go fetch their precious drone. He descends the floor cautiously, wary that there might be enemies nearby. They might be successful on driving away the 3 idiots from earlier, but we can never really tell if there's someone lurking in the dark. To provide extra security, Lady Otaku guides him in every step of the way. 17th floor is clear, 16th floor is safe, as well as the 15th floor. While our boy is descending the stairs, he recalls that based on the measurements from the drone, the temperature outside is minus 49.8 degrees Celsius. Without any protect measures, humans will freeze to death within 30 minutes. Han Feng gets a bit worried for Brother Lai. If you can still remember, the guy was found unconscious on one of the complex floors. He tells himself to move quickly so he can rescue the poor dude. Meanwhile, one of the bastards who tried to invade our boy's home is reporting his findings to their leader. He tells him to be careful if he ever plans to go up the stairs. Jiang acknowledges the report and proceeds to thank the man for his troubles. I got to give it to this four-eyes bastard. He's really a capable leader and a good manipulator. He tells his subordinates to give them 3 pieces of thick clothes to counter the cold, to which the 3 greatly appreciate it. It's not an understatement that they literally risked their lives in an attempt to raid our boy's house. Jiang emphasizes that their organization will never treat the people who contributes to the group unfairly. He even hands them a packet of ration each, to which the 3 graciously accept while shivering. Meanwhile, Yona, who is quivering in a corner, asks the Four Eyes if she can join their group now, looking at the leader with puppy eyes. However, this dude is no simp. He bluntly rejects the witch once again. Even though she was the one who provided the information on where to get resources, the group were unable to confirm if the attack was the doing of Yona's friend. Secondly, Jiang states that if not for Uncle Liu personally witnessing someone moving resources, he wouldn't believe Yona at all. He then invites his gang to take a look at the said floor, to which they obediently agree. As they were preparing to go, Jiang asks them to give Yona a tool as well. Four Eyes tells the witch that she needs to demonstrate her worth in order for him to consider accepting her to the group, and the first step to that is to check whether her information is true. One of the twin brothers hands her a metal pipe which she's to use as a weapon. Seems like these bastards are prepared to use any means necessary to raid our boy's floor. Yona accepts the weapon in Jiang's condition. She steals her resolve to prove herself useful and be accepted to the plunderers' organization. Finally, this fox is doing something aside from seduction. Jiang tells everyone that they are important manpower of the team, so their safety is utmost priority. He reminds them to be careful as they climb the floors. With that said, the gang starts ascending the stairs. There's quite a lot of them, and with their leader in the front, all members are feeling quite confident with this expedition. On the way up, they find someone lying unconscious on the stairs. One of the twin immediately calls out for Jiang's attention. The man is none other than Brother Lai, who still hasn't woken up and looks like on the verge of death. In an attempt to wake him up, they made him drink water. Brother Lai immediately wakes up after getting his mouth scalded by the boiling hot water. Brother Lai then takes a look at his saviors. A moment of awkward silence envelops the room before Brother Lai clicks his tongue, commenting how unlucky he is. It would seem like he's displeased to find the plunderers gang be the one to save him. Jin calls out Brother Lai's ungrateful attitude towards them. He states that Mr. Jiang saved him from the brink of death, yet he's not even thanking him. Brother Lai smirks, saying that even if he wants to thank someone, it will be the people that the gang stole the resources from. He tells them to stop playing the role of a hero. Jin didn't like the disrespectful attitude of Brother Lai and he was about to throw hands. However, the goody two-shoes Mr. Jiang stops him. Four Eyes speaks to Brother Lai, saying that he is sincere with his invitation towards him. He claims that they can only get through this disaster if everyone is working together. Too bad for him. The Chad Brother Lai is adamant of not being a part of their organization. Jin intervenes, calling out Brother Lai for his attitude. He tells him to stop refusing Mr. Jiang's kindness and accept his invitation. Brother Lai just brushes Jin's words, asking if he's now trying to force him to join their cause. As he was about to leave, Jiang places his hand on Brother Lai's shoulder, asking if there's some kind of misunderstanding towards them. He explains that they just want Brother Lai to contribute his strength, so that those people who are weaker have higher hopes of surviving. Brother Lai finally had enough. He flips off, calling Jiang a bastard. He states that he knows exactly what the Sly Man is planning, revealing that Jiang only gave the elderlies one meal every 3 days. With that kind of ration, there's really no difference from waiting for death. He adds that he doesn't even have parents whom he wants to protect, so their blackmailing would not work on him. While the two were having an argument, we see our boy, Han Feng, spying on them on the staircase above. He was shocked to find out that Jiang is only giving his members one meal every 3 days. This made him realize that the Four Eyes doesn't really care about his subjects. Han Feng can't say that the situation doesn't really make sense. The committee wants to rope in the young ones. That's why they are taking in those old, weak, sick, and disabled people. They're just pretending to be kind so that they can appeal to those with sense of justice. However, our boy knows that if this goes on, the administration of the committee will eventually erupt in conflicts. Going back to the argument, Jin can no longer handle the disrespectful behavior of Brother Lai towards their revered Mr. Jiang. He grabs the man's collar, telling the man to move out of their way if he really has no intention of joining their cause. At the same time, Brother Lai has also ran out of patience towards these self-righteous bastards. He headbutts Jin, causing immense pain to the boy. It's clear why Jiang wants him to their group. Brother Lai's strength is nothing to scoff at. He manages to take Jin to the ground with just a single headbutt even though he hasn't fully recovered his strength from fainting. But of course, the other lackeys won't just sit idly by while one of them gets attacked. They brought up their weapons and stare menacingly at Brother Lai. Despite this, the con man remained unfazed and gazes back to them. Mr. Jiang breathes a disappointed sigh. He really wanted Brother Lai to join them, but he realized that it's only a wishful thinking. Nothing he says or do will convince the thick-headed con man. He stares at his lackey and gives them a nod, indicating that he is giving them permission to take out the obstacle right in front of them. Jiang's bootlickers immediately understood the command. They all raised their weapons and started closing in towards Brother Lai. In response, the blonde dude takes his fighting stance. Albeit still shaking from weakness, he confidently declares that he ain't scared of them. In fact, he even invites them to take a piece of him if they dare. Our boy who is watching the scene unfolds before him gets worried for Brother Lai. He knows that the man still hasn't recovered from fainting and he will fall at any moment unless our boy does something. However, Han Feng is aware that he can't just jump into the fray. There's too many enemies. Even if he goes in, there's nothing much he can do. True, he has some supernatural abilities of his own, but they are not combat related. He laments the hopelessness of the situation, but he recalls that Brother Lai has helped him out so many times in the past. It won't sit well for him to watch as the man throws away his life. Our boy takes a deep breath to steel his resolve and pulls out his Glock. He stares at it for a moment, contemplating if he's really going to use it against those bastards. However, he knows that this won't be the first time he will take someone else's life, for he had already disposed of Yona's previous boyfriend. Backed into the wall, Brother Lai adamantly wears his confident bravado, urging the gang to come at him whilst shaking. Suddenly, he notices something peculiar, prompting him to look what's above him. Then, a loud noise is heard from the staircase above, followed by a bullet hitting the floor. Jin immediately hits the ground with his butt, dropping his weapon. Everyone is in a daze after being startled by the noise. They then find a bullet mark not far from Jin's feet. After a moment, the shock turned into confusion. They are all panicking as to what that loud noise was, wondering if it was really a gunshot. Amidst the confusion, our boy shows up above, pointing his gun and his flashlight towards them, demanding them not to move. Although he's acting tough, it's very evident from Han Feng's face that he's pushing himself with this act. He goes to Brother Lai's side while still pointing the gun to his enemies. No one from Jiang's side dared to move a muscle. Brother Lai sees our boy's pistol and gets a little terrified. While his lackeys are pissing their pants off, Jiang remained calm. He observes our boy intently without doing anything suspicious. Boy, this dude is really formidable. Yona, who's in the back, was surprised that our boy left the comfort of his home. What's more shocking is the man has a gun in his hand. Without taking his eyes off the enemies, Han Feng gently gave Brother Lai the key to his house, telling him to retreat slowly, to which the man acknowledges. The bastards murmur to themselves, asking Mr. Jiang if they will take this opportunity to attack our boy while he's not paying full attention. However, Han Feng hears this and shoots another warning shot, startling the group. Our boy really means business. He won't compromise his safety for anything trivial. He orders them to drop their weapons and kneel down if they don't want to get hurt. Although our boy is sweating a lot despite the cold weather, the bastards can see in his eyes that he's dead serious. Terrified, all of them slowly dropped their weapons and knelt to the ground. Even Mr. Jiang complies to Han Feng's order. He's always been a shrewd man, so he will not compromise his safety for mere pride. After confirming that everyone has laid down their weapon, our boy invites Brother Lai to move, to which the man complies. They slowly back up the stairs while still being cautious. Our boy warns them that he will shoot whoever dares to move. A few moments later, Brother Lai and our boy disappears from the scene, leaving the committee members to themselves. After confirming that it's safe, Jiang quickly gets back up and asks if there's anyone who knows the guy who just showed up. Yona immediately informs him of our boy's identity, saying that he's Han Feng. She reveals that the place they are trying to reach was the man's house. After being exposed to such danger, Jin jumps on Yona. He pulls her collar, asking why she didn't inform them about the man possessing a gun. This boy really does love grabbing people's collars. Does he think he's a thug or something? Yona claims that even she was unaware of Han Feng's firearm. Fortunately for her, Jiang states that she believes the girl. He tells Jin to get his hands off her, saying that there's no reason for Yona to lie to them. He elaborates that our boy having a gun confirms that he has resources to protect. That would mean that Hyona's words were true. The simpletons quickly believe Jiang's explanation. They shout that maybe Han Feng was the one responsible for raising the prices of the resources. Meanwhile, Jiang is deep in his thoughts. He theorizes that the man who Uncle Liu claims to be stacking up supplies was none other than our boy. Jin then asks their leader what their next step will be. He comments that if they still proceed with their plans, they might actually get shot next time. However, the sly fox just grinned at his comment. He states that if Han Feng is really capable of murder, he would have done it just now. He believes that our boy will just hide in his home forever. Eventually, he will need to come out. After organizing his thoughts, he tells everyone that there has been a change of plans. They will return to the basement and prepare some safety measure before coming back up. He declares that they will take down the floor 18 as soon as possible. Meanwhile, our boy and Brother Lai has finally reached Han Feng's house. Brother Lai is struggling a bit opening the door. He apologizes to our boy, saying that he's still trembling so he's having a hard time opening the lock. Han Feng reassures him that there's no need to panic, for it doesn't seem like the enemies are following them. As soon as Brother Lai managed to open the door, a comforting warm breeze brushes over him. The man was surprised at how comfortable the place is. Han Feng tells him to get a grip and go inside. When Brother Lai steps inside the house, he was shocked to see different sort of appliances still running. There's radiator to provide heat, a generator to provide electricity, and other boatloads of supplies. He can't help but ask our boy what exactly is going on with his house. In response, Han Feng just scratches his head, saying that it's a long story. While the two are having their short conversation, the otaku waifu opens her room, asking our boy if he got the drone. Han Feng just looked at her with a dumb expression on his face, saying that he forgot about recovering it. Brother Lai stared at our boy in confusion, asking what drone are they talking about. Fast forward to 2 hours later, we see Brother Lai stuffing his mouth with food as he listens to our boy's explanation. He comments how awesome it is that Han Feng was able to predict this kind of disaster and actually prepare for it. He claims that studying hard is indeed useful. Brother Lai even said it himself, so folks, stay in school. Anyway, our boy felt like he needed to apologize to Brother Lai. He explains that he was worried about the information about his supplies being leaked, so he didn't tell him the truth. In response, the con man stopped eating and placed his chopsticks on the table. He then gets up and bows to our hero. He wasn't mad that our boy lied to him, rather, he is thankful that he saved him. He claims that if it's not for Han Feng, he's afraid that he would have starved to death. Our boy is touched by how sincere Brother Lai is. This con man might have started as an annoying character at first, but he's really an honest guy. Han Feng pats his shoulder, saying that there's no need to be so modest. He states that Brother Lai has helped him greatly in the past, so there's no need for him to be shy and just eat up. The blonde dude bursts out crying, calling our boy a good guy. On the other hand, the otaku is just staring at them, watching the bromance unfold. Brother Lai then reveals that the situation in their apartment complex is very different now. He asks if our boy still remembers the information he sent him before the power was cut off. He states that since that day, the guy with the surname Jiang has been going around the complex, stealing supplies in the name of collectivism. There are those who follow him, and of course, there are others like Brother Lai that disapprove of his actions. Even though some people left the committee group, Jiang seemed to not be too concerned about it. However, that's only in the surface. Behind everyone's back, he sent Jin Kinwoo to take care of the defectors, saying that it was to reduce the threat against them. Our boy asks if Jin Kinwoo was the older brother of the Jin twins. Brother Lai states that he's correct. He states that the twins studied so much that their intelligence has gone back to their mother's womb. Han Feng realizes that the reason why the committee developed so quickly was because of Jiang's underhanded tactics. He understands that the fox really is a difficult opponent. Brother Lai then states that karma did strike the group not too long ago, just like the saying evil has its retribution. He states that the committee tried to rob Lai Zhenghao and was punished for it. The man is a boxer who was once the middleweight champion, and they suffered major injuries as they confronted the man. It took a while, so let's get down to it. Brother Lai is telling our boy, Han Feng, how the committee tried to bully the boxer for his resources but ended up humiliating themselves. However, under Jiang's encouragement, the people kept going after Zhenghao to fight it out. This boy Eisen kept sending out his errand cars to the boxer non-stop. In the end, Zheng Hao got overwhelmed by their sheer number and tenacity, and they pummeled him down mercilessly. No matter how great of a boxer he was, he can't fight forever. Because of that incident, Zheng Hao also gathered a group of followers. Among them, there's two people who are quite famous. They started retaliating against Zhang's gang. One of them is called Zheng Yanghu, who used to be a fan of Zheng Hao. Brother Lai heard that the man participated in underground boxing for a few years and became famous for his speed. The other is called Jin Zhongzai, a die-hard fan of Zheng Hao. It's said that he is blessed with godly strength and his body is robust like a literal monster. I mean, look at how the bear hugged 3 people like they are stuffed animals. With the prestige of the 2 of them and Lai Zhenghao, they have already become another faction within our boy's neighborhood. This group of people hate the hypocritical Jiang Zuyu. Brother Lai adds that the bastard Jiang was thinking of ways to resolve this conflict, and finally decided to rob Han Feng's supplies instead. Our boy comments that Jiang must have planned on recruiting Brother Lai to help him attack Han Feng, and the con man states that he was on his way to inform our hero about all of it when he collapsed in the stairway. Our boy contemplates for a bit. He realized that the reason Jiang was adamant on recruiting Brother Lai is because their faction isn't doing well in terms of combat ability. Suddenly, a loud noise is heard from outside the house, making the 3 of them alert. The otaku lady reveals that there are some people outside and shows the CCTV footage from outside. We see that Jiang and his boys have already reached Han Feng's doorstep. Our boy quickly gets up and states that he will electrify his door immediately. If you can still remember, our boy tweaked his doorknob and placed a shocking trap. However, before he could even take a step, his waifu pulls his clothes, informing him that she can smell sulfur. Our boy was a bit confused as to what relevance the sulfur has in this situation. Then, he quickly finds out what it was for, when suddenly, a huge explosion occurs, shaking the whole building and causing them to lose balance. Our boy shakes his head, trying to recover from the impact. He's surprised that the bastards are so low that they would even dare to use bombs inside the complex. The otaku then informs him that they are using localized demolition explosives which are not that powerful. Han Feng is amazed that the girl who can't even cook knows about this complex information. As they check the CCTV footage, our boy sees someone familiar. He zooms the screen and sees the crazy witch, Yona. He quickly realizes that she was the one who brought the bastards to his home. Our boy really should have ended her life when he had the chance. Enraged, Han Feng rushes to the electric outlet and tells Brother Lai to move away from the door. He plugs in the trap and instantly hears screams from outside the door. Needless to say, the poor idiot who took the liberty to grab our boy's doorknob got toasted. He now has a new afro haircut. His allies quickly realize that the door has electricity on it. Jiang was left speechless for a bit for our boy's creativity. He knew that Han Feng is not someone to be taken lightly. Still, he and his gang will not back down. He orders his followers to place the explosives on the border of the door connecting to the wall and try using 2 packets this time, to which Jin acknowledges. He placed 1 explosive to each side of the door and backed away. The bombs caused powerful explosion, however. The door and the wall remained intact, but it was damaged nonetheless, leaving several cracks. They were all dumbfounded and immediately informed Jiang, who is hiding behind a shield, that the door is still not destroyed. Eisen is contemplating his whole life, probably wondering that it was much more easier invading the whole Soul Society than to destroy our boy's door. He knows that there are definitely no problems with the explosives that they brought. It seems like our boy is fully prepared for them. He's running out of patience. He tells his underlings to use 3 packets of explosives this time, and he will point out where to put them all. If nothing still happens, they are to increase the quantity even more. His eyes are dead serious, declaring that they need to take down this house today. On the other hand, we can see that Han Feng and Brother Lai were busy barricading the door. They even used the television to enforce it. It didn't take long before the barricade gets tested, for another explosion occurs, shaking the whole floor even more violent this time. Han Feng is starting to panic, shouting to Brother Lai if he noticed that the explosions are getting louder and louder, but Brother couldn't hear him from all the chaos. Suddenly, they hear cracking sounds, making our boy curious as to what it is. Brother Lai then screams that the wall is cracking. He urges our boy to get more things to block the way. Han Feng knows that if this goes on, the cracks will get bigger and bigger, and the enemies will be able to breach them. Our boy then tells Brother Lai that it's useless for them to block it. He orders him to move all the things away quickly, saying that he has a plan. Brother Lai was surprised by the command. Seeing all the things they put, it would take too long to move all of it. Seeing the gravity of the situation, the otaku chick steps in, declaring that she will be the one to do it. This took our boy by surprise, knowing that she will reveal her power to Brother Lai. The con man wasn't convinced by her at first, saying that there's no way that she can move them all with them baby hands. He even tells her to just go back to the bedroom and sleep. But then, the otaku conjures her power, creating a mystical portal on her hands which shocked Brother Lai. Using the portal, she sucked up all the objects blocking the doorway. Everything was cleared in a matter of moment, as if they were never there in the first place. Brother Lai cannot believe his eyes. He was terrified as he watches all the things get sucked up in an instant. The surprises kept coming as our boy activates his purple lights. He imbued his hands with it and rushes to the door. He plans to soften up the walls like last time to see if he can reshape it. However, it is not that simple. It's actually hard to control this power since he has to manage the affected area, or else the hardening process is going to take a long time. After reshaping the walls to his liking, he then activates his green light ability to harden the wall and the door. Han Feng assessed the results, confirming that his power actually worked. Combining the green light with the purple light make things harder than metal. Of course, Brother Lai won't stay quiet about what he just witnessed. He immediately bombarded our boy with questions, asking if he's capable of using magic. Han Feng doesn't really want to explain everything to him. He was just forced to use it given the situation. Fortunately, the otaku intervenes the conversation, telling them to get down. As soon as they did, a very powerful explosion occurs, indicating that Jiang and his men detonated another explosive. The walls that our boy strengthened cracked once again. He frowns, knowing that it took him great effort to enforce it, yet it cracked easily after just one explosion. The lady then informs them that the enemies are now trying to bomb the floor. Our boy grits his teeth. He knows that if that's really the case, then it will be useless no matter how much he repairs the walls. He then tells the two that he has a dangerous idea, asking if they are on board and are willing to trust him just once. The otaku chick nonchalantly nods, while Brother Lai looked at him in the eyes, dead serious, and says that whatever Han Feng has to do, he should just do it, showing full trust on our boy. Han Feng appreciates their confidence in him. With that being said, he wants them to proceed according to what he will say next. The next thing we see is another explosion, followed by our boy's door falling down. The committee members are successful in destroying someone's home, just like any other homeowners association officials. Jin tells his comrades to pay attention to safety and to clear up all the supplies that they can find. Jiang tells them to proceed with caution, reminding them that Han Feng might have set up an ambush. They all proceeded to raid the place. They went to the kitchen and living room, but they weren't able to find a single pack of noodles. Jin was able to locate a box full of seed, but that was it. Jiang was confused at what they found. The door was so secure for the house to be too empty like this. Jin started yelling at the witch Yona, accusing her of lying to them. The hideous woman nervously tells them that she wasn't lying, stating that Han Feng is probably hiding his supplies in the bedroom. The members are way ahead of her. They are already trying to open the bedroom door but are proceeding carefully, afraid that they will get shot by our boy. However, before the bald man can even twist the doorknob, the door opens. Curious, he takes a peek when suddenly, his shield was met by a powerful kick. The impact made the shield bounce, hitting his stupid face. The owner of the raging foot is none other than Brother Lai. He curses at the intruder as he makes his grand entrance. Behind him shows our boy, pointing his gun towards the enemies. They were all spooked and ran behind their shields. They quickly told Jiang to watch out, prioritizing their leader's safety. Our boy fires one shot at them, but it was blocked by the shield. Han Feng orders them to get out of his house, or else he will stop being so polite. However, the sly bastard Jiang asks him if the way of him being polite is by pointing a gun towards them. He adds that our boy is hiding his supplies, neglecting the collective, making so many residents suffer and starve. Pouring his feelings out, he shouts that today, they are here to demand justice from Han Feng. This stupid pep talk boosted the morale of his gang, feeling that they are doing what righteous and just. Aizen kept on yapping, saying that if our boy still has any conscience left in his heart, he will hand over the supplies. He states that only by working together will they be able to survive the apocalypse. Our boy frowns. He knows that Jiang's words are inspiring the wretched people around him. However, he knows that they are just scumbags who are stealing other people's resources. Our boy is aware that it is useless to resolve things through words now. The people in front of him is a group of hungry wolves, looking for someone to vent their frustrations to. He rebukes Jiang's accusation, saying that he doesn't even have any supplies. Yona then shouts that our boy must have hidden his resources, showing full confidence that our boy's house is loaded. She claims that the last time she was here, there was even heat and light from Han Feng's house. She kept on yapping, saying that if he doesn't tell them the truth, they will have no choice but to kill him. Our boy loses his patience with the witch and shoots her. Unfortunately, the bullet was blocked by the shield, only managing to crack it. He asks how shameless the girl could be to be spouting such nonsense like that. He claims that if she didn't scam him into exchanging for seeds with his supplies, he wouldn't be in such a state today. Our boy is trying to put the blame on the stupid girl, and it seems like Jin is already buying it. He shouts at her, asking if she's playing with them. But she's adamant on claiming that she didn't lie. Mr. Jiang read what our hero is trying to do, so he tells his men not to start an internal strife amongst them, saying that there is a much simpler method. He orders his two lackeys to go and take a look in our boy's room. He asks Han Feng if he will be alright with that suggestion. Our boy just stared at him, but he didn't decline. So, the two idiots went inside his room and reported back that there's only some rubbish and a little girl inside the room. The otaku chick also went out with him. Then, the little girl went and hugged our boy, calling him big brother. She acts scared, saying that she's hungry. Our boy tried to match her acting, saying that there's no need for her to be afraid for he will find food once the intruders leave. All the committee members are now glaring and scoffing at Yona, which I say well deserved. They complain that they worked half a day trying to pry open our boy's door, yet the witch lied to them. At this point, even Jiang is losing his patience on her. He glares at her, saying that he needs an explanation. He states that now that things have developed this way, it is only right for her to explain herself to everyone. The crowd started banding up together, saying that if they didn't like her explanation, they will kill her. Yona is now at her wit's end. She desperately claims that she isn't lying, stating that she personally witnessed our boy living comfortably. She stares at Hanfeng, wondering how he managed to trick them all. She began blaming our boy for all her misfortune, thinking that it is all because of him that she got in this heated situation. Furious, she charges towards our boy while blinding him with her flashlight. She then grabs the gun from Hanfeng's hand and points it to him. Yona demands that Hanfeng tell them exactly where he hid the supplies. If he's playing some kind of trick, she wouldn't hesitate to pull the trigger. The committee members are all watching the scenario, still hoping that they will at least find some food from our boy's possession. However, Hanfeng remained adamant on his story, claiming that all of his resources were all scammed by her a long time ago. Despite that, the crazy witch is still not buying his story. Well, to be fair, she did saw our boy's comfy home. She tries to pull the trigger in an attempt to shoot our boy, but someone throws a rod at her, causing her to drop the gun. The committee members then subdued the crazy woman, telling her to stop her futile resistance. Our boy then looks at the gun on the floor, knowing that it would be dangerous if his enemies get a hold of it. Unfortunately, he was too slow to grab it, and Mr. Jiang got to it first. Now, black-haired Ichigo is having a Mexican standoff with bootleg Aizen, but their clash for the Soul Society was interrupted when Jin grabs Hyona's hair while accusing her of lying to them. He even tries to slap the hell out of her, but Jiang stops him. He states that the committee isn't a violent group, and this is not a place for an execution either. Funny how he can say that when they were just bombing our boy's place earlier. He says that even if she did lie to them, they should at least give her a chance to turn over a new leaf, acting all compassionate and merciful. He then turns towards our boy, apologizing for all the commotion that they have caused. He states that they are all victims here, and that he will give him a proper explanation soon. Aizen then hands over our boy's gun to him, shocking Hanfeng. Our boy takes back his gun. Jiang then invites him to their committee, saying that he sincerely wishes for him to join them. The Sly Man knows that our boy is still shocked by the sudden turn of events, so he turns around and says that he doesn't have to give an answer right away. He can just think over it for now. As they leave the house, he tells our boy that if he wants to get some supplies in the basement tomorrow, he can give them his answer. Just like that, Hanfeng, Brother Lai, and the Otaku chick were all able to avoid getting annihilated by the committee gang. Brother Lai asks our boy if he's alright, seeing that he's just staring down without saying a single word. Then, our boy groans, saying that finally they left. As it turns out, Hanfeng wasn't bothered at all. We then see him sitting all relaxed on his couch with the electricity back on, stating that the performance is finally over. Now that everything is back on, they can finally relax. Brother Lai states that he didn't expect that the little sister is living just right above our boy's house. Hanfeng says that her house is a lot bigger and more comfortable than his. The leisure time that they are enjoying right now is all thanks to their brilliant performance back then. As it turns out, our boy commanded the otaku to store everything in the house to her spatial storage but leave some rubbish and wrappers on the floor. He then ordered Brother Eli to open the windows, saying that they need to quickly lower the temperature of the house. Hanfeng states that they need to make it seem like they have run out of supplies a long time ago. The plan is to let the committee members to use all their energy tearing down the door only to find nothing in his house. Our boy knew that Jiang has made such a big deal out of their situation, so if they were to return empty-handed, it will definitely stir up anger within the group. In that situation, everyone will start to aim their fingers at the weak. Since our boy has a gun, the only weak one that they can bully is Yona. However, Brother Lai comments that the stunt was too dangerous, especially when Jiang was able to get a hold of his gun. Our boy definitely agrees to his word, but he realizes that the Sly Man probably gave the gun back to him in order to maintain the calmness of the situation and maintain his image. But Brother Lai argues what would have happened if Jiang decided to shoot them instead. Hanfeng then reveals that he has already emptied the magazine of the pistol when he shot at Yona, who was hiding behind the shield. At this point, Brother Lai is astonished by our boy's brilliant plan, asking if dropping the gun was part of his plan as well. However, Hanfeng states that it was barely part of his plan. Then the con man asks if they will just pretend to be suffering from now on while secretly enjoying their lives. But our boy states that their next move will be to bring down the whole committee. On the other hand, Jiang and his gang have returned to the basement. They are now starting to hand out rations to their members. Just like before, the people queued up in anticipation to receive their portions. In the background, however, we can see two people sneaking at the back. They quickly hid behind the members. I'm not really sure how they managed to get past unseen with all the people waiting in line. As it turns out, the intruders are none other than Hanfeng and Brother Lai. They both gave each other a thumbs up. Brother Lai reveals that according to his investigations, the first 4 floors have been cleared out. The 5th and 6th floors are where the logistics and family members are staying, and Brother Lai wasn't able to go up to the 7th and 8th floor. He assumes that it is most likely that the warehouse is on the 7th and 8th floors. Our boy and Brother Lai go up the stairs, armed with bats. The con man tells our boy that there are guards from the 5th floor onwards. He states that he will distract them first and our boy is to knock them down with the bat. However, as they climb up the stairs, they were shocked to find nothing. They reach the 7th floor already and there are no signs of the report that Brother Lai said earlier. He comments that it is fine to not see any guards, but it surely is weird that there's not a single person to see. The two decided to split to check the floor faster. Han Feng breathes a sigh of relief. He thought that they would have to sneakily fight their way up, but since there's no people around, they can safely investigate. Earlier, Han Feng told them that there's too many people in the committee, they won't be able to win with just the 3 of them. If they want to bring them down, they need to start from the inside. He states that from what he can see, the committee is an organization that's helped together by supplies. As long as they can find the warehouse where they are keeping the supplies, then all that's left for the evil king to go and empty it out. The gang will fall down immediately. Well, that was the plan at least, but our boy is having a hard time locating the warehouse. Suddenly, Brother Lai came rushing toward our hero, making Han Feng curious if he has found the place already. However, he was taken to a door where a note saying warehouse is written. Han Feng states that this door is probably a trap since it is too obvious. Even the key is left on the keyhole. Someone as cunning as Jiang wouldn't do such a thing. However, Brother Li states that maybe they just forgot about the key, implying that it is worth checking. Fortunately, our boy was able to see a trap wiring on the doorknob upon closer inspection. One wrong step and they will have to face the whole committee by just the 2 of them. Han Feng then recalls the 2 dudes carrying supplies mentioning about checking the door. He then theorizes that they definitely placed a trap. Our boy orders Brother Lai to not touch anything arbitrarily. They just need to know the location, so he invites the man to check more upstairs. As long as they find the location of the warehouse, they can take their time to discuss how to open it. While they are walking, the door near them suddenly opens. The 2 parties stared at each other awkwardly before realizing the situation. Han Feng and Brother Lai then quickly dashes away, and the 2 enemies followed them. Suddenly, one bastard leaps off behind Brother Lai in an attempt to smack him with a metal rod. Fortunately, Han Feng jumps in the way and protects the con man, using his arm as a shield. Brother Lai then delivers a powerful kick that knocks the man cold. They then lock the bastard into one of the rooms, but at this point, the 2 are almost panicking. Suddenly, they heard footsteps from the staircase, indicating that someone is approaching. The 2 decide to continue their ascent so that they won't be found out. While they are walking around the 8th floor, Brother Lai notices our boy aching from the attack earlier. Suddenly, Brother Lai acts all nervous, pointing behind our boy. Curious, Han Feng asks what he's pointing at. But before he could even finish his sentence, a hand grabs him and pulls him into the dark room. And with that, we reach the latest chapter of this thrilling story. Of course, as usual, I'll be sure to make another episode once the story gets updated. Thank you all for the support so far, and I hope you continue to look forward to more. Until next time.